Hello, everyone. I'm so excited today for stream. Show him the bear. Show him the bear. That's our boy. Oh, the boy. He gonna keep us all nice and warm because I am going to be reading to you a very spoopy story. I thank you. I'm going to be reading you all a very spoopy story. Hello, Stacy. Hold on. My shit is all fucked. Okay, there we go. First and foremost, let me welcome you to the ladies. Let me undeafen myself so they can spec. This is a spoopy story that you'll be able to see their reaction for. And I'm so excited. Ladies, say hello. Do sound check, plus.
Hello.
Okay, so this story is called My Romantic Cabin Getaway with My Fiance isn't going as planned. It was posted on the No Sleep Reddit, and it was later turned into a book called Stolen Tongues by, where he at? Felix Blackwell. You know what I'm saying? Felix Blackwell. Very prominent artist. Well, not prominent, but very good. I really like this story. This is what it was before. Sorry, I have to get my music open. I have suspenseful music just for now. Here we go. So yeah, this is kind of like, this should be considered a rough draft for the book, if you will. And I will. Thank you, Nibs. I warned them that they were going to be on camera today. Why is that like that? Why? Oh, that's why. It needs to be under. There we go. All right, cool. Sick. All right, I'm going to read this to you. There are 10 parts to it. There is The Mystery Unravels, that is part 11 through 16. We are going to shoot for 1 through 10 today. Okay? Does that sound good to everyone? Okay. Hi, Lexi! All right, let's get into it, shall we? I'm very excited. All right, here we go. My fiance and I are from California, but her family lives in Colorado, and they own a cabin near Pikes Peak, way up in the mountains. After visiting them, they recommended we go stay in the cabin for a few days. We are avid hikers and jumped at the opportunity. Colorado is very rich in Native American folk legend. Virtually every place you go used to belong to an indigenous community, and the few of them who remain keep the traditions and stories alive. Pikes Peak is no different. There are enough stories and gift shops to give anybody the sense that the land itself is alive. I don't know if this has anything to do with what is happening, but maybe someone here is from Colorado and could help connect the dots. Faye and I are currently at the cabin. It's day 4, and we are planning on leaving today, but things have gotten very strange around here, and it looks like we're going to be here a while longer. We have enough food for winter, and the heater is in stellar order, but the Wi-Fi is terrible at best, and there's virtually no cell reception. We feel isolated. I I will try to respond to comments, but the internet dips out for hours at a time up here. The first weird thing that happened was the snow. There was no snow in the forecast, so we packed light. But on first night here, just our luck, a blizzard pounded the whole area. My little Corolla is basically a brick of ice outside, and there's no way I'm going to try to make the 6-mile drive down the mountain to the town. I blame myself for trusting Colorado in spring. After a day, Thursday, of lovely hiking and sightseeing, some really unsettling stuff started happening. When we returned to the cabin just before dusk, we found an enormous dream catcher dangling from a tree about a dozen yards from the back door. This wasn't the kind you're imagining, the kind you buy from a novelty shop. This thing was made from twigs and twine, and it's about 3 feet in diameter. Absolutely humongous. Neither Faye nor I were stupid enough to touch it. We're veteran horror movie fans, and we know that's how you get cursed. If the snow melts a bit, I'll get back out there and snap a picture of it and post it here. That night, while we were eating dinner, we heard a bunch of noises in the woods outside. Twigs crunching, leaves rustling, etc. This isn't unusual because we saw some elk and deer on our hike, but the sounds were slow and purposeful. They stopped and started and were rhythmic, like someone was casing the area in a crescent shape around the cabin. I used my really bright tactical flashlight to look outside from the porch, but there was nothing. We stayed in all night Friday, and we just cuddled, hung out, played some of the board games we brought, and some of the Super Nintendo games they had in the cabin. Donkey Kong Country 2, I have considered stealing because it's the greatest game ever made. It snowed again, and after dark, we started hearing more noises. Around 1 a.m., Faye woke me up and told me she was hearing a voice outside. I strained to listen, but I thought that I could hear... her voice outside. I strained to listen, and I thought I could make out the sound of a man crying very, very far away. But his voice was drowned out by the wind, so I wasn't absolutely certain of what I heard. We went back to sleep, but again, around 4:45 a.m., we heard him more distinctly and closer. He sounded like he was calling for help, but he would dip into another language that I've never heard before. We called the ranger station at the bottom of the hill using my cell phone, and they told us they'd get up there and check it out. We never saw them, and I doubt they ever came. So, you're in that position, right? You're in a cabin with your fiancé. I don't think that there are any, like, park rangers, to be honest. Because to call and then be like, yeah, we'll get there. And then they just, you never see them? How fucking terrified are you at this point? You're hearing some dude yell out in the woods. You're snowed in. Like, there's nothing you can do. You can't leave.
I personally would not be in that position.
But you don't have any choice. You don't have a choice. You're in a cabin in Colorado. It's supposed to be nice. You don't have winter gear. You can't just go walking out into the night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Okay.
You know how there's people that, like, document everything because we'll sketch? That's what I would be doing. That's what I would be doing. Because if I die, then at least they can see why I died.
Right, and I think this is kind of like what that is. Like, this is like an online journal type feel to me. You know what I'm saying? Like Live Journal used to be. Anyone remember that shit? That was way before your time dying. By the way, I have a shit ton of grape juice. But if it's people and they freeze to death, I'd feel awful. I don't know, man. In the mountains, anywhere near Rockies, Appalachia, no. You hear anything, I'm not going out there, and you can't fucking make me.
I've seen too many movies too.
Mm-hmm.
Evil Dead, Cabin in the Woods, Wrong Turn. No thanks.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The only thing that would get me out there would definitely be like my child screaming.
Yeah. Like if it was like making the same sound as your child.
Yeah, like mimicking.
But what
That's
if?
the only way
But what
to
if?
die.
What if your daughter was sitting right next to you and you heard her screaming outside?
No. But
What
like,
if
she
you
was
like?
missing,
Like if you and if she was missing. Like you and I are in San Diego, right? Chill on TwitchCon. You hear Autumn's voice outside of the window going, "Mommy, Mommy, I'm outside." Would you go out there?
Fuck them kids.
Fuck them kids. I would tackle you if you tried to fucking go out there. Are you kidding me? I would tackle you. Dog, I would fucking tackle you. I'd be like, you're not going out there. She's not in California. We are. She's not. Anyway, okay.
It's a little, she's gone.
She gone. Just a little.
She gone.
But just right out the window. Okay. On Saturday, shit got really scary. It snowed again in the morning, and I stopped getting service for most of the day. Faye and I watched movies and tried to Skype with her family, but that didn't work. She went to sleep early, around 8, while I did some photo editing on my laptop in the living room. She woke up crying hysterically. When I asked her what was wrong, she said she'd had a dream that she was lost in the woods outside and something was following her. I cuddled with her until she fell back asleep, and eventually I drifted off too. The word cuddle makes me feel weird. Anyway, Faye woke me up around 1 a.m. She was absolutely beside herself. I've never seen her so afraid in my life, and just the look on her face really unsettled me. She told me that she heard the man outside again, but she recognized the voice. She was absolutely convinced that it was her grandfather's voice, and he was wandering around outside begging for help. Faye's grandpa died when we were seniors in college 4 years ago. I told her that she was dreaming, but then I heard the voice too. I never met the guy, so I wouldn't recognize his voice, but it did sound different from the night before. It sounded older. I had to do everything I could to keep her from running off into the woods looking for him. Eventually, she realized that the possibility of it being him was absurd, so we put a movie on at a good volume and fell back asleep. My cell phone wouldn't connect a single call. You like that, Lexi? What happened last night... Hold on, where am I at? What happened last night, Sunday, was a thing that has sent me over the edge. Essentially, the same thing happened. Around 1 a.m., at which point I was still awake, almost expecting the noise to happen, I heard a voice. This time, it was a woman's. Thankfully, it wasn't distant enough that it didn't wake Faye. I walked into the bathroom and cracked a window open, just a tiny bit. The frosty air that came through that crack seemed like a death sentence to me as a Californian. Nobody could survive outside for long in that, not without serious military-grade winter gear. And yet, someone was wandering the fuck around out there, stepping on twigs and crying. I am a reasonable, skeptical, sometimes arrogant agnostic, but I'm telling you, the voice sounded exactly like my mother's. My mom is alive and well and living in Southern California, so my brain instantly cramped at the sound of her voice out here in the Rocky Mountains. I would know my mother's voice anywhere. I think we all would. And I'm telling you, I am about 90% sure it was hers, which is way, way too sure not to scare the shit out of me. I grabbed my light and went outside with a blanket wrapped around me and my hiking boots on. I circled the entire cabin and looked around. There was snow pushed out of the way in a big, meandering pattern that snaked in and out of the tree line like someone was drunkenly shuffling around. Maybe they were injured. The path went right up to the bathroom window and then back into the woods. Each time the voice called out, I shouted, "Mom?" Or, "Who's there?" Or, "Who are you?" And each time the voice receded further into the woods. I'm pretty certain it was trying to coax me deeper and deeper into the forest away from the cabin. I'm still alive because I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to die like some dumbass in a bad horror movie. I went back inside and made sure we locked down tight. Since I can't ranger the station, I'm posting this instead. I will keep you updated. So, whatever it is, it's trying to get him out into the woods. Okay. Edit. It's Monday, and we got a hold of Faye's dad. The weather is supposed to clear up tomorrow, so he's going to come pick us up in his truck and help get my car down the mountain. How the fuck are you going to do that? I will keep you all informed. Only one more night in this place. I'll try to get some photos up. Edit. 9:30 p.m. Monday. I've been able to get online twice a day. I wish I knew more about electronics, but I'm a history teacher, so I don't think I can fix the Wi-Fi or predict when it'll work. Excuse me, I can send, receive emails, and some Reddit posts, but I cannot load some websites or view photos. Faye hasn't been feeling well since noon. She developed a stomach ache and has been intermittently throwing up. We both ate the same thing, and I feel fine, so I'm not sure what it is. She sometimes gets like this when she's worked up. Although I'm an agnostic atheist, she's very Catholic and pretty convinced that something supernatural is going on. No need for alarm at the moment. She does not have a fever, and I'm going to keep her hydrated and in high spirits. She seems to be on the mend. I went to sleep about 1.5 hours ago. Some noises to report. Cackling, repetitive vocalizations in the forest, probably 100 yards out. The tree line starts at about 20 yards out, so the sound is coming from much deeper. Some movement spotted just behind the tree line at dusk, but could be elk, deer. Couldn't see very much. Keeping all the curtains closed, windows locked, furniture in front of the front door, back door, and I'm checking on Faye every half hour. Her dad will be here in the late morning to pick us up / dig my car out. Another Redditor near us pointed out that I am an idiot for not double-checking the weather. You are correct. I promise I'll provide an update as a new post tomorrow, should anything significant happen. End of part 1. So, what do you think so far?
Go home.
They can't. They're snowed in. What do you do? I think they're smart for not having fucked with the dream catcher, though. No,
Yeah.
that's like the smartest thing they've done. Smartest thing they've done.
If something was calling out to me in the woods, I wouldn't respond.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, because I know enough.
Even if it was, like, again, like, if, like, you or Stace or my daughter was missing, someone of importance was missing, and they were calling out from the, like, distant woods.
First and foremost,
you would call out for them.
I'll let you know right now. If you ever hear my ass yelling from the woods, that ain't me. That's not me. Do not talk to her. That is not me. You will never hear my fucking ass yelling for you from the fucking woods. Ain't no fucking way. No.
Say if you went missing.
No, I wouldn't be in the woods. I'm never going to the woods by myself. You fucking kidding me?
Not willingly, no.
Not willingly.
Oh.
But, like, you're like, I'm getting firewood outside the house, and then you're just fucking gone.
Gone. Oh, yeah. No, you would hear me yell things like, pineapple, platypus, like, so you'd know it was me. You know what I'm saying? I would use every safe word. Noah! I would scream every safe word I've ever had with anyone, ever, so that you'd know it was me. But let me tell you something.
Wouldn't an evil entity know that?
Maybe. I don't know. Let's read on and find out. If you hear me yelling from the woods, it might be me. Sorry, guys. All right. I'm sorry for the delay, everyone. We're collecting ourselves. Sorry for any formatting issues. I'm writing this on my phone. Faye's dad picked us up in his truck. He brought his buddy with him, who is now following us in my car. A lot of things happened last night, some things I won't share because I'm not sure how to interpret them yet. I'm not even sure I understand what happened. But here are the most important things. I also managed to get some recordings, which I try to upload I'll try to upload when we get home to California in a few days. I tried to stay awake last night until 1 a.m. because over the past few nights, that is the approximate time the noises changed from rustling branches, crackling, to voices. I didn't make it. I fell asleep on the couch with my laptop open, waiting for the Wi-Fi to come back. I think this was at about 12:30 a.m. I woke up right around 1:15 to a muffled voice. In my sleepy days, I struggled to figure out where it was coming from. I thought it was just outside the living room window, so I sat there quietly trying to make the words out. It was a woman's voice and said things like, "A few days. It's not mine. I'm not alone. Okay." I got up and peeked out of the curtains, and I didn't see anyone. But then the voice said, "It's my parents' house." And I knew the voice was Faye's. As I mentioned earlier, my fiancé has an undiagnosed sleep disorder and has extensive sleep talk and sometimes sleepwalks. I don't recall him mentioning this. Do you?
No.
Okay. It might be a little disjointed because it's Reddit. She has had pronounced night terrors since she was a little kid. I'll post a story on that someday. I walked into the bedroom to find Faye, sleeping on her tummy as usual. She didn't say anything else as I came in. Two things really disturbed me about this situation, though. The first is that she appeared to be having a conversation with someone, which is actually quite common for her, but the person she was conversing with was interrogating her, asking her questions about herself, me, the cabin, etc. Second, in her sleep, Faye was imitating another voice. It wasn't hers that she was speaking with. She was altering the pitch and tone to sound like a different person. My modus operandi is to not wake her up when she has sleep disturbances. I'm sorry, I would be... I would shake the shit out of her and be like, "Get up! You're being fucking weird." There's a story behind this, expect one day. I don't care. Instead, I gently rub her back and hair, which calms her and puts her back into restful sleep. I did this for a few minutes, but then there was another noise, off to the distance, outside. I got up and walked to the window to listen, and I think this was the first time that I felt really scared enough that I felt like we were in real danger. It was a child, singing in the dark.
Are they home now?
No, they're still in the cabin.
I'm confused.
He's recounting what happened in the cabin before they got out. I think.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. It was a child singing in the dark. I couldn't really make out much of what she was saying, but I am certain that it was a child, probably aged 6 to 8, trying to sing a song. The snow had abated for a while now, and the stars were notably bright, so I could see all the way to the rim of the forest about 20 yards out. There was a figure standing there, just past the first trees, back facing me, looking up at either the moon or the tops of the trees. It stood so still that I convinced myself it was a tree stump or something, and in a few minutes it was no longer visible. My skeptical nature compels me to be reasonable and say my eyes were playing tricks on me. When I turned around, Faye was sitting straight up in bed, eyes closed. She does this a lot in her sleep. She craned her neck and said something like, "Don't let them in," or "Don't let him inside." She was still doing the weird voice, so I woke her up. So your partner sits straight up in bed, eyes shut, and is talking to you. I would slap the shit out of her.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I would.
First of all,
Get out
I
of
don't
my house.
talking. I fuck with sleep talking when
don't.
it's like when
I
it's
don't.
like the sleep talking that's like so in the past I've had experiences where I've heard someone sleep talking listening to like my YouTube video. They're like responding to the questions in the YouTube video. They're like, "Yeah, uh-huh." Like it's just simple things, you know?
Yeah.
But if you're having a conversation, I feel like I wouldn't want to be with that person. Just I respect them. I respect, that they have this sleeping disorder.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't fucking do that.
Yeah,
No.
no.
Both of my kids talk in their sleep.
Oh, I would lose my fucking mind.
Like full
You birthed
sentences.
them though.
Yeah.
You birthed them.
See, here's the thing about that.
But they'll like
No.
open their eyes and look at you and have a conversation with you. They're not awake.
They're not. So they do this without like being awake?
Mm-hmm.
Hate that.
Today, actually, with my daughter. I needed
Oh.
her to get up and change her clothes because she had sweat through like her entire
Oh,
clothing.
yeah, because she's sick. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I got her up to change her clothes. She walked to her bedroom, changed her clothes, went back, laid down. And like an hour later, she's like, when did I change my clothes? What had happened?
What happened to me?
I'm like, girl, we got up, we did the whole thing. You talked to me and everything. She had no idea.
Oh, yeah, no, I've been there. Where, like, you're kind of, like, half asleep. Usually when I was sick, though. Not, like, all sleep weirdness, but, like, this situation specifically. I don't know, this might be a relationship ender. Well, he and Faye are engaged, affianced. So, I mean, they're in it for the long haul.
They're in it for the long haul, but and I'm sure he's dealt with her sleep talking and maybe like
Yeah, so he's
sitting up.
kind of
That's
used to it.
But like at the same time,
I've done that too, Nips.
You're hearing things and you're seeing things outside. Well, he didn't see things outside yet, but you're hearing.
No, he
things
saw.
outside.
He saw the person standing on the edge of the forest.
It was afterwards. She was talking.
Yeah.
And then he saw it, and then she sat up. So at the same time, it all like.
Yeah.
It feels like Sixth Sense, like I see dead people.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't fuck with that. Okay, that's a deal breaker. I'd
Yeah.
be like, I can't do this. Can I have the ring back?
Yeah, you're creeping me the fuck out. Get fucked.
Yeah, 100%.
Faye and I sat in the bedroom with the lights on, talking about what we should do. I tried to get online to send an email to her parents, but of course, it doesn't work when you need it. We agreed to stay in the same room and try to fall back asleep. At one point, I got up to get her some water. She hadn't vomited in several hours now and was feeling a lot better. And out the kitchen window, I saw flashes of a pale light. They weren't like the flashes you'd see when someone walks through the woods with a flashlight. They were more like if someone had a lantern that they could slowly turn on and off. Fuck that. I flicked on the porch lights to the front and side of the house, hoping that it would discourage anyone from trying to approach. But as I walked back to the bedroom, I saw the distinct outline of a person through the window curtain in the living room. They were pressed against the glass with their hands on it, trying to peer inside. Since it was dark in the living room and bright outside, I could clearly see their silhouette. I shouted and approached the window, but the person ran off before I pulled the curtain open. Faye slept soundly, but I continued to hear voices outside. Different ones. On and off all night until dawn. I wrote several of them down. I couldn't sleep, so I camped out in the living room. I kept the bedroom door open so I could hear Faye if she started talking again. The voices would go away for hours and then start back up again. At one point, I fell asleep because I was awoken by the sound of a light switch flickering on and off. From the couch, I could see light from outside, going on and off in patterns of 5. I can't explain why this disturbed me so much, but it did, and I imagined some kind of horrible creature standing in my house somewhere, flipping the switch up and down and smiling. My first instinct was to check on Faye, and I nearly had a heart attack when I saw that she wasn't in bed. I started calling her name and pacing around the house, looking out the windows to see if she was outside. When I looked out the kitchen window, there she was, sitting on the hood of my car about 30 feet out in the driveway. Her back was to me, and she was staring off into the forest. She was absolutely rigid, just the way she sits up in bed when she's asleep. Faye has sleepwalked all over the house. Back home in California, I found her in the kitchen and the downstairs hallway in the living room, but she's never gone outside. I shouted her name from the kitchen, but the second I did, Faye jumped off my car and dashed into the woods at a full sprint. She never looked back at me. I started flipping out and screamed her name over and over. I scrambled to grab my boots to go after her, but the second I pulled the front door open, Faye called out my name from behind me. She was standing in the hall, looking confused, asking me what was wrong. Apparently, she had been in the bathroom. In my masculine crusade, I'd forgotten to check there. I looked out at my car and into the forest, and honestly, the first thought that came to my mind was, "You clever motherfucker." So, yeah.
Your stupid sound effects scared the crap out of me.
It's supposed to.
That was the worst one so far.
We
I
just
thought
getting
somebody
started.
was
baby.
coming in my door.
Oh
I
no.
was like, who the fuck is like whispering to me right now? So
It's definitely
first of all-
trying to get at him. Get him
So
into
first
the
of all-
forest.
when was the part of her throwing up? When was that?
That was at the beginning.
Earlier in the day.
I don't remember her throwing up. I'm so sorry. I don't remember.
No,
I think
she'd
I'm
been
just
throwing up all day.
Okay, so she was.
Yeah.
So he didn't check the bathroom.
No.
At the
Hi,
end.
Alice.
Her run away.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I honestly, I don't think I would be able to sleep.
There's no way. There's no fucking way.
No way.
Fucking way. I would be
I'm-
sleeping.
Especially because you can't like pound like energy drinks because you're.
Yeah.
You probably have like a pot of coffee or something if you're like in a cabin in the woods.
Hi, Queenie.
But that coffee pot on.
On
pounding it
and
back.
dark. Tamp as many coffee grounds as you can into that fucking filter.
Might
And
as well.
after you brew it, twist the thing and turn it into a dip pouch. While drinking the
fucking
coffee.
Pack a fat lip.
We acting like we in the field, motherfucker. We are at war. We will sleep for no one. Ever.
Okay.
Ever again.
My question also is that like, are you like also unarmed in a cabin in the woods? 'Cause
Yeah.
No way. No way.
He hasn't mentioned a weapon at this point.
I mean, if you're in Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
right? Colorado,
Yeah.
cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
You have to.
I
Come
at
on.
least have a Mossberg by my side. I at least have a, because that sound enough might deter someone. That's a "you have a good day, ma'am" sound. You know, when someone's trying to get into your house and they hear a click click. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
In a previous haunted house I lived in, I would sometimes see shadowy apparitions, and if you ignored them, they were less problematic. Yeah, I would never in my life, like, speak to this thing. But it looked like it was his fiancée going into the woods. So, you know, what can you do? All right, let's continue. Needless to say, we stayed up the remaining few hours until dawn, intermittently writing down the voices we heard, which faded away and became less frequent with the passage of time. I'll try to get the recordings up in a few days. For now, here's the list of voices we heard. We recalled some of the voices from the previous nights from memory, but I just figured you'd like to know what was being said throughout the duration of this lovely cabin experience. I will return to Colorado, but fuck Pikes Peak. The question marks indicate that the words were very unclear. A man's voice, but couldn't put a face to it over the past several nights. Hello? Oh, God. Look at it. Look. Hello? Don't. They see in the dark. Kind of wailed dramatically. I'm lost. Wachu, wole mai. Growled, hacking sound. Reminded me of Gollum. It's very dark. I see those lights. I'll come down there. Don't smile. I see you. Could have been Goat Smile. A woman's voice sounded age 20-ish last night. Gasp in horror. Surprise. Over and over. Lay it on the ground and burn it. Turn it. La 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 la. Monotone, not melodic at all. She talks in her sleep. She's talking to me right now. Threatening, malicious voice. A child, sound about 6 to 8 years old. Indeterminate sex last night. Crying, whining, occasional laughter. Oh, sol mi adu. Why do I do? Eat. I am a vacant, naked sol mi adu. Singing. Not sure if this is actually English or if my mind is just forcing the sounds into English. When do we go inside? Very unusual intonation. Sounded like a robot trying to mimic a child. Voice of my mother a few nights ago. Stop! Laughing, joking. She has a recognizable Bostonian accent. Look at the windows. Did you see it? Voice of Faye's grandfather a few nights ago. Lots of indiscernible groaning. Calls for help. Something about the water. Faye's body's still in the ground here. Never found them. But they're here. Right here. Oh, they found it. I'm standing in the same place. 20 years. By the way, I forgot to see if that dream catcher was still there out back. You're welcome to drive out there and look for yourself, though. End of part 2. What do we think?
I hate it.
Look what Nip said.
Oh my God, until dawn. Yeah.
No.
After that.
Below that.
That's what they call white people? Wasichu? Hold on. Where was it?
It was the little girl's voice. Or the child's voice.
Oh, soul me do. I'm a vacant soul. Soul me I do. She talks in her sleep. Very malicious voice. Where was it? Is it the one where... Oh, Wachu. Oh. Ooh. Very cool, Nips. That's very cool knowledge. Thank you so much. So...
Tribes in Colorado?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
How do we feel about it after part 2? I have fucking chills. I'm sorry,
so
Lexi. I'm so sorry, Lexi. It's such a good story.
I feel like this must have been the longest night of their life.
Oh, yeah. Dog. Like, the fact that they slept at all, fuck off. Ain't no way.
And like, is he okay? So I know that his fiance is also experiencing this, but she's also sleeping.
Right. She's sleeping like on and off.
Me personally,
I wouldn't be asleep.
I wouldn't be asleep.
You couldn't pay
I'd
me
be
enough.
awake with my partner.
Ain't no
and I'd be
fucking way.
like, I'd be like, wake up. wake up.
Get up now.
You need to get up.
You're not
fucking
putting
now.
me through this alone. Ain't no fucking
Why
way.
would you experience that alone? Also, the sleep talking one, like she's talking to me in her sleep.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
so
wake up, Faye. Wake your ass up.
Some of the things that like they were saying, right, sounded like I can see the lights. Like it's mimicking the voice of people it has encountered before. Like it's saying possibly the last words of whoever its previous victims were. That's what I got from that. Because if you look at some of the things they're saying, they don't make any fucking sense. I've been standing here. Get down in the hole.
One that's like, what is the one that's like, look at it?
Yeah.
Like, hello?
Look at it. Do you see it? Yeah. It's absolutely mimicking the sounds of its past victims. I'm almost certain.
Besides like the psychological aspect
right.
of like bringing the family members into it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Part 3. So that night we sat down with Faye's mom, Laura, in her bedroom while her dad was watching the news downstairs. Her mom was so upset at the stories we told her. I mean, she was visibly disturbed to the point of being in tears. She kept apologizing to Faye and hugging her. That's a weird reaction. Laura told us that they'd purchased that cabin from their good friend, Jennifer, I think, who moved to Nevada about 20 years ago, and that Jennifer and her husband had complained about all sorts of weird experiences while living there. Her husband, Tom, like myself, was fond of hiking and exploring the woods, and collected tons of arrowheads and other neat trinkets he'd found in his travels around Pikes Peak. That's going to give me a shit show. But Jennifer started having dreams about Tom being dragged off into the woods from their bedroom. These are important things you tell before, whatever. She had all kinds of horrific nightmares about him being skinned and pinned up in the trees like some kind of macabre artwork. Jennifer said that while Tom was at work, she would occasionally hear the voice of her daughter, who died in childhood of some kind of bone cancer, calling, "Mommy?" from the edge of the forest. Jennifer's doctors claimed it was the medication she was on and changed her meds. Tom got a new job in Vegas, and they basically noped out of there. On a lighter note, Tom hung himself in the garage 2 years after they moved. No note or anything.
Why is that so casual?
It's Reddit humor, I think.
It's so fucking casual. Besides that,
homie hung himself. It's all good.
He ended it. It's done.
Anyway, Laura, Faye's mom, and Greg, Faye's dad, only used the cabin as a getaway in summers. Laura never experienced anything beyond weird feelings while she was there, and she chalked that up to all of the crazy stories Jennifer had told her. Greg, however, who suffers from PTSD-related nightmares, occasionally experienced exacerbated sleep disturbances in the cabin. Over the years, he became reluctant to go there and claimed that all of the things he'd seen in Vietnam came back to him when he slept there. Allegedly, some of the people he saw get killed would come back to talk to him in his dreams at that cabin. The last time he stayed there, he woke up in a dream to find a few of them sitting in his bedroom with him, maimed, rotted, etc. He privately maintained to Laura that he had also heard their voices in the forest, crying, begging, screaming for their mothers. Oh, and guess what time he always heard them? Laura told us that she honestly did not believe there was anything really wrong with the cabin. Laura's a fucking idiot. Faye, wrong with the cat. Faye was extremely pissed and let her have it. They kind of ended our visit on a bad note. You think? Later that night, I was up reading, and Faye was sleeping next to me. She always falls asleep before me. that girl could fall asleep on a pile of rocks. She started mumbling in her sleep, so I listened carefully. And here are a few things I heard her say. Never, never, never. No, I wouldn't. On the mountain. I can't. What? His name? We don't know you. No, it's Felix, which is his name. About 2 hours later, she woke me up by nudging me in her sleep and saying, "Tell the man in the hall to leave." This sent me over the edge, so I got to go to the bathroom and get some water. I didn't find anything strange. Had a hard time falling asleep, though. Dying, you got to go? Okay.
Yeah, but oh, it's so spooky.
You can watch the VOD later. All right. Back to the story. This morning we heard back from the guy who went up to the cabin to check it for gas leaks, carbon monoxide, at the behest of a few scrupulous Redditors. The guy mentioned that radon is a really big problem in some of these old places in the mountains. He's some kind of super badass handyman with all kinds of equipment, so he wrangled up one of the park rangers, and they went up to the place together. It's so dark out. Apparently, there were tracks all around the house, a dozen pairs of them. Like a large group of people had been wandering around looking in the windows. All the windows and doors were sealed the way we left them. When they got inside, some stuff was moved around. The silverware drawer was emptied onto the kitchen floor and turned upside down. The power was completely dead. The weirdest thing, that there was water all over the bed and on the floor. But our guy checked for leaks in the ceiling and the bathroom pipes. Nothing. Nothing had been stolen from the house, not even food. Some of the old clothes in the bedroom closet were strewn on the ground, but nothing stolen. Like maybe someone was trying them on / smelling them. The ranger said that there were legends about the mountain, something about things that sort of act like people, but they come out of the old abandoned mines. Greg's friend couldn't remember the name the ranger gave them. It was in a native language. I asked Greg to ask the ranger about the sounds I heard, specifically the wachu, wole mai, wole mai. And he said it's a widely recognizable chant, but he doesn't know what it means. Anyone here have any idea? No radon, no carbon dioxide, and no gas. The place is all electric. He checked for mold, but he said it was unlikely that there would be any all the way up there. He did say it's possible that there's some kind of electrical problem and that this can sometimes cause people to feel very unsettled and maybe have hallucinations. Dog, no the fuck it doesn't. He has some kind of Geiger counter or a gadget that detects issues like this, but it was broken when he tried to use it. For the record, by the way, there is no such thing as a Geiger counter. It's Radiac, because it measures radiation. It doesn't measure Geigers. It measures radiation. It is a Radiac. Anyway, moving along. I'm going to keep a close eye on Faye. She's still shaken up about all this. If there's anything left to report, I'll let you know. Update. 4/21/2016. We have begun hearing voices outside of our home. Faye is really upset and feels I might have exacerbated these strange circumstances by giving them widespread exposure online. I don't know, dog. I don't think the skinwalkers are going to be doing that. I don't think they care about Reddit. I'm going to go dark for a few days to see if that helps. Don't worry about us. We have a few close friends looking out for us. They know the entire store. Hi everyone. I just want to make a quick update as promised because Faye and I are flying back to California shortly. Faye is back to normal, feeling great. I watched her eat a huge plate of chicken parmesan yesterday. The first thing I should mention is that Faye's father was very reluctant to talk about the cabin or the weird experience we'd had there. He kept trying to change the subject and was generally in a bad mood, which is pretty normal for him. He's a really grumpy Vietnam vet and has been in the army since he was young. His personality is exactly the way you'd imagine it. Faye asked him bluntly, if something is wrong with that cabin, why would you let us go up there in the first place? And his response was, talk to your mother. Oh, yeah, he absolutely made it worse. He absolutely made it worse. End of part 3. Part 4.
Fun fact.
Yeah?
It's called a Geiger counter because that's the name of the person who invented it.
Yeah, but it's a radiac. It's a radiac. It doesn't measure Geigers. It measures radiation.
But it's not called a Geiger counter for no reason.
Man needs a gun and white ash. Yeah, for sure. But it needs to be white ash given to him by a native person, not any of the fucking, those places that, like, here's sage. No, it needs to be given to you by a native person. What, Olaf? What? What do you want? I cannot help you. It's a scary story. You just gonna have to listen. Thank you. No. Sir, get thy nose out of mine armpit. Thank you. Bless you. Can you hear him carrying on over here?
I heard him snuff a second ago, like...
To you too. To you too. Go away. Okay. Over the weekend, my fiance and I stayed in her parents'... This is like... He's kind of like giving a rundown, I think. So that, it's like a... It's like a... This is what happened in the past. Okay. I think we can skip that part. I'm sorry that this is long, but I want to document everything. Faye and I flew back from Colorado on Wednesday afternoon. She slept the entire flight, despite the noise, which amazed me. I can't sleep on planes because I'm absolutely terrified of flying. I'd rather stay another night in that cabin. No, you wouldn't, dog. Ain't no fucking way you'd want... Whatever. When we got home, I ordered pizza, and she wolfed it down. Her appetite has returned in full force, which is great news. I mentioned this in my original post, but Faye has an undiagnosed sleep disorder. She has pronounced night terrors, sleep talking, and occasional sleepwalking. This disorder lies dormant 90% of the time, but it tends to flare up when she's under a lot of stress. If we're moving, if she's changing jobs, or if a relative dies, I can expect a night of horrifying talking and odd behavior. Fantastic. Needless to say, our experiences at the cabin have set Faye on edge. Although she's in high spirits, she's still afraid at night. I am too. That night after pizza, she fell asleep on the couch while we watched Wedding Crashers. Solid fucking choice, by the way. If you want to get the scaries away, Wedding Crashers. It's a solid choice. At around 10 p.m., the movie ended, and I turned the TV off. As I brought our plates to the kitchen, I passed by the stairwell, and I heard a faint noise from upstairs that sounded like a man sighing. I shrugged it off and woke Faye up. We brushed our teeth and went to bed. Does silver or iron help at all? They seem to help with a lot of things, probably because there's not a lot that can tank cold iron in the head in general. Astute observation, Saturday. I mean, it couldn't hurt. What's funny is her name is Faye. Faye. So. Brushed her teeth and went to bed. Faye talked in her sleep a lot that night, and it started at about 1 a.m. I woke up to her calling out, "What did you do?" And, "Do you need help?" and laughing. This isn't really unusual for her. She babbled occasionally and said a few funny things. I woke up again around 4 and heard her talking, but this time she was doing something she's never done before. We've been together for almost 5 years, and not once has she ever whispered in her sleep. But now She was whispering with her back turned to me. For a second, I thought someone was lying on the floor at her edge of the bed, talking back to her. This disturbed the shit out of me. So I sat up and leaned over her, trying to listen in the dark. The only thing I heard her say discernibly was, "Shh." I asked her, "Faye, what are you talking about?" And she didn't respond. I said,
hear you whisper at all.
No, but they did. Discord cut it out for you. And she didn't respond. I said, "Who are you talking to?" And she replied, "Don't," and nudged me. Another unusual thing happened. At about 5:45 a.m., I woke up to Faye getting back into bed. She hurried into the bedroom from the hall and got back into bed quickly, making zero attempt not to wake me up. First of all, Faye does not get up. Ever. She sleeps like a dead horse. And even if she went to the bathroom in the middle of the night, which she never does, the bathroom is not down the hall. It's in our bedroom. When I asked her what she was doing...
sleepwalks.
Yeah. Well, not sleep runs. When I asked her what she was doing the next morning, she claimed to have no memory of it. That's a nope. I spent all day Thursday thinking about why Faye was still acting weird. I was the one who found the dream catcher and got close to it. I was the one who interacted with the voices at the cabin. Yeah, by the way, stupid. Stupid. Every Halloween time, I get these TikToks where it's like people from Appalachia saying, if you ever hear whistling outside your window, keep doing whatever you were doing. You did not hear that shit. Does not matter how close or far away it is. You don't pay attention to it. No matter what. Oh, the Chloe lady. She's so pretty. You think she can hear the scary story and she's like, I don't like it.
She's giving me some hardcore side eye right now.
Yeah.
Oh, and she gone.
Oh, yeah. Do not whistle at night. That's another one, too. If you hear whistling at night, doesn't matter where you are. California.
I can't whistle anyways.
Florida. Maine. I'm only listing the places you're from, apparently. Rhode Island. Massachusetts. Colorado. Utah. Doesn't matter. If you hear whistling at night, you shut that shit down. And ignore the fuck out of it. Used to hear your sister and her friends talk all the time. And when I check on them, they were still out. Oh, that is so scary. Ooh. All right. We ready? I spent all day Thursday thinking about why Faye was still acting weird. I was the one who found the dream catcher and got close to it. I was the one who interacted with the voices at the cabin. And then I remember... Oh, wait. I barely remembered because... On our last night in Colorado, at her parents' house, Faye got back into bed around the same time. 5:45 a.m. I barely remembered because I was half asleep. But the image returned to my head. She'd been getting up really, really early for a few days. So last night, I set my phone's alarm to vibrate, and I put the time to... Oh, my mic is falling. Sorry. Put the time to 4:45 a.m. In the middle of the night, Faye started talking again. Hold on just a second if you could. Hold on. Not to ruin the spoopy mood, but if my microphone falls, that's a problem. Okay. No moving.
I mean, the sound might be scary.
Yeah.
Speaking of scary sounds, you have your sound effects paused or whatever. So if you hit any of those buttons, I don't hear it.
Oh, hold on. I'll bring it back up. Can you see it now?
Okay. I'm sure I'll regret it, but yeah.
You can?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Oh. All right. 4:45 a.m. In the middle of the night, Faye started talking again. This time she was doing the same thing she did at the cabin, changing her voice to sound like someone else. In 5 years, she sleep-talked a bunch, but has never whispered or changed her voice until recently. She said a few things, which I tried to commit to memory. La, la, la. Flat, monotone. Shh. Followed by a day on or teal over and over. He's still in the trees. Where were you? I looked for you. And, oh, it's time. About the same time, I heard a noise outside which sounded like an old man grumbling to himself about something. We lived in NorCal in really woodsy town, so when you look out our bedroom window, there are tons of trees across the street. It was very dark, but I am fairly certain I saw a man walking behind the first line of trees. He was too far away to be the one grumbling, but it is very unusual to see anyone over there this time of night. In fact, I have never seen anyone there at night, ever. Looking outside required me to open the curtains, which lit up our room with moonlight. When I looked back at the bed, Faye was lying there with her neck craned toward me, her eyes crazy wide and fixed on me, and her mouth was open. She issued this really frightening, gurgly, drawn-out groan and flicked her tongue around. It looked like an epileptic fit in slow motion. Faye has definitely opened her eyes in her sleep, but never like this. She looked like a fucking murderer. So she's just like on the bed, like like I'm trying to think of like how the fuck that looks. Like in my brain, I just see like this you know. Anyway, we move on. We move. I got so scared I called her name really loud and woke her up. She was confused and asked me why I was at the window. I lied and said I was just closing it because it was cold. I didn't want her to know I'd heard a voice. We talked a bit, but I'll skip that because this is getting long. My alarm woke me up at 4:45 a.m., and I laid there awake, waiting for Faye to get up like she had been the past few nights. She breathes very rhythmically when she's asleep, so I can always tell how deep she's under. At around 5:20, she sat straight up, swung her legs out of the bed, and tiptoed down the hall. I followed behind. When I say that my fiancé tiptoed, I don't mean like a child on Christmas Eve. This was robotic, alien, inhuman. She moved like a meth-addicted ballerina zombie down the hall and stopped at the stairwell. Her breathing never changed. To me, that sounds like something is taking over at night and is like trying to get the feel, you know, of inhabiting this body. And that's why they're walking all like herky-jerky. It's like what was his name? Carl, the skin suit from Men in Black, where he was like, everywhere he went, because he wasn't used to being in a skin suit, a literal skin suit. What do you think besides abject horror?
I don't like it.
Who do you call for help with this shit? Is it too late? I don't even know, dude. I don't know what I would fucking do if I saw someone I loved walking all herky-jerky down the hallway at the same time every night. Dog. Might be time to pack it in, you know? You had a good run. Send her back to her mom and dad's house and just call it a night. You know? We're done here. Thank you so much for your time. Here's your daughter back. I don't want her anymore. Yeah.
I don't think it's so much about I can't love you anymore so much as I love you, but I love me more.
Yeah, I love you, but whatever the fuck this is, ain't it? You are not the person. No. Hell no. Be contacting every denomination of exorcists for this shit until one works. Yeah, oh yeah. We call them the Dalai Lama. Fuck, we'll call the Clintons if we have to get this figured the fuck out. Her mom's all, yeah, her mom is super fucking sketchy because she's like, I don't know, everyone around me has had these horrible experiences here, but I don't see anything wrong. Pan-religious, pan-cultural search. Pan! Alright. Let's continue. I just stood there in our bedroom, poking my head out into the dark hall. Faye looked down the stairs, still standing rigidly on the balls of her feet, swaying to and fro slightly. She did some weird shit. She touched her face slowly for several minutes. Touched the banister, touched the walls, flicked the light on and off a few times, all the while maintaining her perfectly regular coma breathing. Then she reached an arm out in the motion of a bicep curl, stretching her fingers and wiggling them, then curling her hand and her arm back up to her face. I watched her do this motion for about 4 minutes. It looked like she was testing the limb, as if she'd never used it before. Then I realized she was actually communicating with someone on the first floor of the house. She was making a come hither motion. So like this. Ah! God! With full confidence that Faye was sleepwalking, I walked into the hall and leaned over the half wall that overlooks the living room. It was totally dark down there. I couldn't see anything but the clock on the cable box. Faye stood there, waving, smiling, and making gestures, then touching her face and pulling gently on her hair. I carefully ushered her back to bed and talked to her softly, trying not to actually wake her. She didn't resist, she never does, and went back to sleep without another word. I have zero clue what the fuck is going on. I told her this morning what she did, and now we have a doctor's appointment for her at 3 p.m. today. Oh! Can this demon stand up to the power and sting of my flip-flop?
Get him with chancla!
Chancla, smack! Oh, one of the comments is disgusting. What if Faye actually ran out that night into the forest, and who walked out of the bathroom that one night is something else? So this might not even be Faye?
I don't like that.
Dog! Ow! You... Oh, that's so much worse to think about than her just being possessed? Dude. Oh, that's disgusting. Dude, I don't know what I would do if I saw this shit. You know, here's the thing. Stacey, right now, I give you full permission. If I ever start acting like this after a trip to fucking butt-fuck nowhere, shoot me in the fucking face. Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah. Also, no.
No. You don't have to read all these former posts if you're new to my situation. All you need to know is that, 1, my fiance, Faye, has a sleep disorder. We've been together 5 years, staying in a cabin. Way down in the mountains, Colorado. My fiance... Okay, we already know this. I took Faye to see her doctor yesterday, and we hesitantly explained what was going on with her. I left out the paranormal stuff because I didn't want to get put in a ward. Fair. She seemed really concerned about Faye. Ordered a blood test, gave her a physical, asked her about her diet and drugs, medications, etc. Faye and I are both non-drinkers, non-drug users, and neither of us are on medication. Yet. She wants Faye to be evaluated by a psychiatrist next week. For now, she gave her a sedative at night and some anti-anxiety medication. She wants us to get some fresh air and get out of the house, so we're going on a hike today. Dog, fresh air ain't... Whatever. A Redditor named Pixie Dicks...
Fantastic name.
Wow, what a way to fucking really cut through the tension, right? A Redditor named Pixie Dicks brought up the possibility of the child's voice outside the cabin asking, "When do we go inside? When do we go inside?" Might not refer to inside the cabin, but rather inside Faye.
What?
Excuse me? Why the fuck would you say that to me? Okay. Alright, it's fine. I'm not upset. It's fine.
I'm upset.
This really worries me because it corroborates some of the strange behavior she's been exhibiting in her sleep. I contacted the park ranger, who's pretty sympathetic to our situation, and he's going to get in touch with some of the members of his tribe who have experience with spiritual guidance and medicine. He is convinced that Faye and I have attracted the attention of the ones who come out of the mines? Lucky us. More on that later. One time in Townsend near Gatlinburg, but kind of on a less touristy ridge, we picked up a book of local folk tales and was reading a scary story about a witch known to hide her heart so she couldn't be killed. And it was talking about her long claw hand trying to get in a home. Some fucking raccoons or shit started scratching at the cabin door. I would fucking lose it. I would lose it. I would fucking lose it. Okay, here we go. Back to the story. Where was I? Should I make the text bigger? Is that good?
No, the text is fine.
Okay. Some Redditors have recommended that I test Faye to see if it's really her. Oh, fuck. Oh, this is gonna upset me. So yesterday evening, against my wallet's advice, I took her to our favorite steakhouse. I only ever order one meal there. Medium tri-tip, house macaroni and cheese, and a bottled root beer. That sounds fucking dope. Faye only ever orders one meal there too. The barbecue chicken sandwich with mac and cheese and a salad with ranch dressing and a Coke. She drinks Coke only. Her blood is mostly Coca-Cola. Faye took a long time deciding what to order and ended up ordering a fucking New York strip. The indignation he has for it. I jokingly told her to order for me too, and she said, "I don't know what you want." She also ordered water instead of Coke. Usually we have arguments over how much Coke she drinks and how I'm always trying to get her to hydrate better and just drink water. This is really unsettling to me. At the end of the night, when we were walking back to my car, I kissed her temple and asked her if she still liked it when I called her Noodle. She said, "Of course." I have never called her Noodle in my entire life. Her nickname has always been Monkey Toes. When we got home, she cracked open a Coke and got on Facebook, which is completely normal for her. This threw me off. So it's kind of acting normal. But, I mean, people's taste changes, but the noodle thing... Anyway. One thing that's been on my mind lately is the song the little kid was singing outside the cabin. For those of you who don't know, in the middle of the night at this cabin in Colorado, we heard a child's voice coming out of the forest singing an eerie song. I've been catching myself humming it almost every day. Why? O sol mia do. Happy birthday to you. Sorry. I asked Faye if it meant anything to her, and I sang it to her while she was sitting on the couch. After a few repetitions, she sort of went blank, like she was hypnotized, and just wobbled back and forth, ever so slightly, for about 8 seconds. Then snapped out of it and said, "I don't remember that." Okay.
Stop chanting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to stop doing the do.
I'm gonna need you to not do that ever again. in your life. Okay. Last night is when the shit hit the fan. I haven't gotten a full night's rest in over a week now, and it's starting to make me feel over-emotional and crazy, I would imagine. Faye started murmuring in her sleep around 1, as usual, but I couldn't understand much of it. She sat up in bed, took the sheets off her legs like she was going to get up, but I grabbed her arm and asked her what she was doing. She said, "Tell them to leave." Her eyes were completely shut. I asked her, Who? Who needs to leave? She sat there for about 2 minutes, not speaking, just sitting straight up. I asked again and she replied, "There's a man at the door." Then about 10 seconds later, "And a woman at the bottom of the stairs." Of course, this made oh God, that gave me, Jesus. It's like fucking Poltergeist. They're here. Ow! Get out of my house! Now! Through the window! This made every hair on my entire body bristle. I got up and went downstairs, turning on every single light as I went, and carrying my buck knife with me. Nobody was in our house. I looked in every single room downstairs and even in the backyard. When I got back to the stairwell, I heard someone stomping around upstairs. Someone had turned the light to the upstairs hallway off. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, looking up, trying to listen, but the noises stopped. So I walked back up into our bedroom and got back into bed. It was likely that Faye had gotten up to go to the bathroom or sleepwalked in a bit in the room and went back to bed. I fell asleep pretty fast, but woke up again only a few minutes later. Faye was gone. Who among us hasn't cleared the house clenching a knife? Not I. I've done it. Many times. I've done it with a fucking putting iron. Because that shit is vicious.
No, if I hear something in the night, I didn't hear it. I'm going back to sleep.
No, see, I'm gonna clear my house like I'm a fucking seal dog. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Faye was gone. I heard movement down the hall, so I looked out into it, and I saw Faye coming out of the other bedroom. She staggered down the hall toward me, then stopped, turned around, and walked back in the other direction. She did this 7 to 8 times. She was walking in almost the same way as the night before, standing really high up on her toes, her legs totally rigid like they were made of cement, and her arms completely limp and flopping back and forth. It was extremely fucking terrifying to see her move like that. She was totally graceless. And it was like someone was testing out a human body for the first time. So...
Oh, no, we're gone. I'm done.
I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I love you so much. Get out of my life. We're done here. Yeah.
I don't feel like my emotional support goldfish are emotionally supporting me right now.
No, that's why I have my emotional support grape juice and a dog who won't stop putting his nose in my thigh and scaring the dog shit out of me.
It's making my aloes feel bad. I don't like this story.
That's when you know they're good. That's when you know they're fucking good. Okay. At that same moment, I heard a noise through the bedroom window and ran over to check, thinking someone was really at the front door. You can see down to the front entryway from our bedroom window. Off in the distance, 30 yards out, someone was walking back and forth in the exact same way that Faye was. He was humming loudly and intermittently singing. The song sounded like the one I sang to Faye earlier. The one the child sang outside the cabin. I made this YouTube video explaining what happened. Links in this don't work. Basically, I ran back down the hall, woke Faye up, and brought her downstairs. I opened the front door to get a better look at the man, but he was gone. So she was being like puppeted. Something was.
Where was the other man?
She was being outside. See, off in the distance, about 30 yards out, somebody was walking back and forth in the exact same way that Faye was. He was humming loudly and intermittently singing. So he was singing the same song that he was singing to her, and she was like, "No, I don't know that one." And like he was puppeting her.
Oh, I agree with Saturday. I'm gonna smack her and see if she's different.
Smack that demon out. Out of this house. Get out of this house. Right now. All right. Today, at the behest of a few Redditors, I asked Faye if she'd ever been to that cabin before we visited it. I don't know why I never thought to ask her this before. She said nothing about it when we stayed there for several nights. She was hesitant to answer me and eventually admitted that she'd been there once when she was 14. She and her parents went snowshoeing up in the mountain. A few hours later, I emailed her mother and asked the same question. She told me Faye had gone to the cabin multiple times as a child, but stopped going when she went into high school. I can't figure out which one of them is lying to me. I think they're both fucking lying, honestly. Because so many people have questions about Faye, she has agreed to do a filmed interview. If you post questions for her, I will film her responses and post them here within a few days. I haven't told Faye this, but I'm thinking of going back to the cabin and meeting with the ranger. Okay. He wants to do some ritual with the dream catcher we found. If it's still there, and he says he will bring his... And he says, if it's still there, and he says he will bring his friends and try to cleanse the house and surrounding area. This will cost me like $500 just to fly out there. But if this shit gets any worse, it might be worth it. Edit. A Redditor sent me a private message telling me to investigate the guest room to see if Faye was doing anything in there. It turns out she was. She had written the number 5 on the window with her finger. I only saw it because of the condensation from the cold this afternoon. It's written backwards so that someone standing in our backyard can read it. End of part 5. Okay, so I feel like there's something living. The dad knows the truth and is either in on it or a hostage. Yes. The mom, I don't fucking trust the mom. I think the mom is hiding something. And I think that Faye has been, like, taken over by something. And the thing is, like, kind of just saying whatever to keep up appearances. What do you think, Lexi?
Didn't he say somewhere in all this that the dad hung himself? So he's
No. Those are the people that own the cabin.
that
the
previous
parents,
owners. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Joe or whatever.
I think the mom did some sort of weird ritual.
Yeah,
when
dude.
she was younger.
Or like,
and like already promised the girl to whatever
Yeah.
the entity is.
Or like something happened and the parents have just been like, we never speak of this. Ever. For any
encourage
reason.
her daughter to go back?
Yeah, and why not specifically forbid her from going back there? If something, I don't trust the mom. The mom
No.
and the dad irritates me too. Listen, if my mom was keeping a secret like that, and my dad saw me suffering as a result of that secret, there's no fucking way in hell he would keep it to himself. No way in hell. Ask your mother. No. No. Pater familias. I am asking you here right now. The mom is one of them, I bet. Yeah, it's giving hereditary vibes. And like paranormal activity vibes. You know what I'm saying? No, it's like a cult.
Like the dad is noticed the same things. The husband is that his wife is acting weird because she was switched at some point, and now she's
Oh,
trying to get the daughter to be switched.
maybe. What is that? It's a Irish folk tale where, like, the replacements or something like that. There's a special word for them.
Changeling,
Yeah. Hey, thank you for the follow, Nahari. I appreciate you.
where the Fae
Hi,
take human
Nahari.
children and replace them with fairies.
Yeah, it's like that. And like, if you want your kid back, you have to go to a fairy circle and like find them again. It's something, the changelings or something like that. Changelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it
is
is.
definitely a fairy thing. So.
Yeah, that's for babies. Yeah,
Yeah.
not for grown ass women. Okay. If you don't want to read the other posts, here's a brief synopsis. My fiancée Faye has had a sleep disorder since she was a little girl. It involves night terrors, sleepwalking, sleep talking, etc. This condition is generally under control, but is exacerbated by stress. A few days ago, we went on vacation and stayed in a cabin in Pikes Peak, Colorado. We found a creepy homemade dream catcher in the forest behind the cabin, and at night we heard several voices calling out from the woods, saying all kinds of terrifying things. Sometimes the voices would mimic people we knew, including deceased relatives. Faye's sleep disturbances got much worse, and while sleep talking one night, I overheard her answering strange questions about herself and me. When we returned to our home in California, her behavior became extremely erratic, and she is convinced that someone has followed us back. Everyone caught up? We good to go? Yeah? Everyone good?
So wait, she's convinced that someone followed them back?
And she is convinced that something has followed. No, I think he meant to say he. I am convinced.
Yeah, because I was like, she seems to have no clue what's going on.
Oh, she has no
Except for
fucking idea. No fucking
Except for
idea.
what he tells her.
Yeah, no
Also
clue whatsoever.
concerned though, because she was like A-okay, like, yeah, let's go get me help, let's go to the doctor. So I think she might also be concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot tell you how much all of your support. This is part 6, by the way, of 10. I cannot tell you how much all of your support has meant to us over the past few days. Faye feels so good knowing that people are constantly asking about her health. And I feel like a few of your suggestions have literally saved her life. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I don't even know where to begin. So much has happened in the last 2.5 days. These sedatives and anti-anxiety meds the doctor gave Faye work during the day, and she has been less stressed. However, at night, her behavior is still highly unusual. I have taken the overwhelming consensus of Redditors seriously. I went out and purchased a bunch of child-proofing materials for the house to prevent Faye from harming herself or going outside while sleepwalking. I could not afford a bunch of cameras, sorry, I am a teacher. I bought these knob covers that little kids and hopefully sleepwalkers are too stupid to figure out, outlet covers in case she tries to jam anything into them, and I hid the kitchen knives. I also brought in a spiritual healer after very carefully searching for one. It is my opinion that 99% of them are frauds and hucksters. That's a good word. Hucksters. That's one you don't hear that often. But this woman did not charge us anything, and she was recommended by close family. She is the daughter of a Shoshone tribal elder. The long and short of it is, she believes our house is not haunted. However, she says that Faye feels very off. She said she couldn't get a good read on her at all, and that there is a dark cloud over her. Still suspicious of this woman, I took her to a random upstairs window and told her that I had seen something outside near the edge of the woods, mimicking Faye's sleepwalking, which was true, but I pointed out the wrong window to the wrong part of the forest. She quietly examined the other windows upstairs and said that our bedroom window, the correct one, gave her a terrible feeling. She said, he watches from here. She can hear him whispering at night. Okay. We told her everything. She was horrified by her story. The look on her face unsettled me so much. It was like she'd never heard of anything this bad. She went out of the room and had to collect herself downstairs. The woman prayed for several minutes, sang a beautiful song in a language I can't even begin to describe, and saged our entire house. She put some kind of crushed herbs on the ground in front of the 2 doors that lead into our home. Then she told me in private, "You are dealing with the hollow ones." She said its name in her ancestral language, but I can't even come close to remembering spelling it. She said that one is infatuated with Fae and will do absolutely anything to get inside our house, but the process takes time. I don't know if I actually buy any of this, but at least she didn't sell it to me. We also had Faye take a pregnancy test as recommended by many Redditors. The woman said it was a good idea. Good news, not pregnant. And the woman stood in the bathroom with her like a prison guard so she couldn't fuck with the test. We then thanked the woman and she left. That night, we attached a little jingle bell from Faye's Christmas-themed lingerie to a hair scrunchie and put it around her ankle. I am such a light sleeper, there's no way she'd be able to get out of bed without waking me. So he said, "I'm going to put a bell on you so I know where you're at." Beach!
Like a cat collar.
Yeah. Faye fell asleep really fast due to the meds. Out like a light in a few minutes. I lay in bed thinking about the 5 she wrote on the window in her sleep a few nights earlier, and reasoned that it meant 5 a.m. and not 5 days. Oh, excuse me. Oh. As some Redditors had speculated. This makes sense because she's been getting up at that time to sleepwalk every night for 4 nights now. Since the 5 was written backwards, facing the backyard, I reasoned that it was a signal to whoever, whatever, was out there. She was going to try to let it inside. I eventually fell asleep, and I had a fucking horrifying dream. Something came into the house through the sliding glass door to the yard and walked up the stairs and into our bedroom. It sat at the edge of our bed, rubbing Faye's foot and staring at us. It was completely wreathed in shadow. I couldn't see it at all except for a silhouette, just like the video I posted about what I saw a few nights earlier. I woke up soaked in sweat and couldn't fall back asleep for a while. 5 a.m. rolled around, and the reliable little jingle bell woke me right up. In her sleep, Faye did something she's never done before. She stood up on the bed, rigid as a board, and stared out the window. She stood up on the bed? Ooh. I shouldn't really say stared because her eyes were closed, but she was alert, watching, listening. She remained there like a statue for at least 5 minutes. I also didn't move. I just watched. Then she slowly raised her hand and started waving at someone outside. My skin crawled when she did that. She definitely knew someone was there, even with her eyes shut. Faye then stepped off the bed and darted to the bedroom door, trying to get out into the hallway. But the child-proof knob cover stopped her. She couldn't figure it out in her sleep. She did another thing she's never done while sleepwalking. She got extremely angry and started pulling on the cover. She shrieked and growled like a trapped animal. After about 30 seconds of this, she woke herself up. She started crying really hard and told me that in her nightmares she had seen a man without a face walking through the halls of our home, whispering her name and looking for her. I sat up and talked with her for an hour, and then we went back to sleep. That shit fucks me up. Like I'm
gonna have bad dreams.
Like I can handle like scary shit, but when the entity or whatever it is getting angry and it's starting to show that anger, that fucks me up. That actually fucking scares me. When whatever it is that's trying to hurt you gets a rage about it. Is that just me? Like that will scare me worse than anything else. Ever. Just
I
me?
mean, I don't think there's anything about it that is not scary.
Dude, that
Like,
shit
even
fucks me up.
calm and sedate and
Like, just like the sudden, like, fury. Like, even when a person is trying to hurt me, if they start getting angry, I can't do it. I get way more scared. I don't know what it is. Because people are, like, capable of the worst shit in the world, but they're capable of even more when they're angry. You know what I mean? Because you kind of, like, black out when you're that angry. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh. Olaf made a sound behind me and I almost jumped. You, sir. I almost shit myself on stream because of you.
No. If the person I was with started freaking out and then shrieking at me, I'm not letting them back in the bed.
Oh no,
You're
I'm
good.
not letting you in the house.
I'm gone.
Get out of the house now. You're
so
so
good.
angry, you're shrieking. You scared mommy. Do you feel sorry? Look at him. He's like, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Did you just fart? Hello? Are you okay? Are you okay? He got the old man toots. I just heard a come from him. Hello? I heard that through my headphones, honey. Oh my God. Are you okay? Is this spoopy story scaring you? Little bit? Okay. Don't look off in the corner, please. That's fucking weird. All right. I don't know, because angry means your blocking attempts are working at least. Yeah, that's true. That's a good... Saturday, you have such a fantastic way of looking at shit. Always at an angle that I would never think. And I mean that in a very, like, it's a good, refreshing thing. Not as in a, you're weird. Like, you bring a new perspective to my life. Oh, good, she's back. You ready? Did you get something cozy? Now we have a flower
I needed the
pillow.
comfort hoodie.
Okay. I don't blame you. Okay. All right. Oh, God. Okay. When I woke up again, it was around 10 a.m. and Faye was gone. The bedroom window was open. As I walked downstairs, I saw her in the backyard. Every single window in the entire house was open. And it was like 55 degrees outside. She told me the smell of sage made her nauseous. And she wanted to get it out of the house. I couldn't smell anything. I forgot to turn on my spooky music. I've been so... The smell of sage making her nauseous? She's a demon! Ow! All right. I suggested that we go to the church downtown today to speak with the priest. She's Catholic. But she refused. So I had my buddy Kay, who is a very, very devout Catholic, come over with some holy water and his crucifix. Apparently, Kay told his priest what was going on, and the guy very reluctantly blessed the water and told us to call him. Faye was irritated that I'd done this without her permission and waited outside while Kay set up a few little crosses and his big crucifix around the house. And his big little crosses around the house. Faye refused to have any holy water put on her. She kept saying, I'm freezing, don't you dare. She's going to be super pissed when she finds out I put that shit in her shampoo and conditioner bottles. Yeah, she is.
How effective do I think holy water will be on, like, a Native American spirit? You know?
I think I feel like it's all ancient magic shit, you know? It's all ancient spiritual shit.
No, I'm not a spiritual person, but I don't know if having an old guy whisper some words over some water will make me feel protected in any sort of way.
I'll tell you right now, I am an agnostic, right? Leaning towards atheist sometimes, especially if I'm mad. But if someone was like, I'm going to get you holy water because you've been acting real fucking weird, I wouldn't be mad. I'd be like, okay. Like, I still have a little bottle of holy water from the Vatican in my house.
I think I'd be more concerned about how effective the reluctantly blessed holy water would be.
Yeah. That's true too. Like, why would a priest do that shit all the time? Why?
Like, how dare you bother me with the problem, even though
Yeah.
I'm here to help solve them.
Reluctantly. Well, there's a water shortage. Okay, so there's also a holy water shortage. So I mean, I'll do this for your friends.
Bless her damn Coca-Cola, then.
Right, I'll do
Blessing's
this.
a blessing.
It's like one prayer that I do over this water to make it holy. Alakazam, this is now holy water. But yeah, let's get upset about it. Like, what the fuck, dog? Doesn't every church have a gift shop at this point where they just bless every fucking thing in there so you can buy it and be like, I'm blessed? You're gonna get mad about a bottle of Aquafina, dog? Get off my fucking lawn. I think you could probably combat it with foreign spiritualism, but like native spiritualism probably be more effective. Oh yeah, native spiritualism for sure. What some Christians would call occultism or paganism, which it's not. It's just a different faith value. Whatever. Let us continue. Where did I leave off? Conditioner bottles. She was in a really nasty mood all morning. But after we went out for lunch, she was feeling better and agreed to film the interview and answer questions from Redditors.
She was hangry.
Yeah. Just go get her a sandwich. She'll be fine. Get her a pretzel with the mustard. She'd be fine.
We just love snacks.
Hot Cheetos. Take her. Go. Tamp them down her throat until she starts acting normal again. While filming, I noticed she wasn't wearing her engagement ring, and I realized she hadn't been wearing it in several days. I asked her where it was, and she said it was in our luggage, which we've now only partially unpacked. Honestly, same vibes. I take forever to unpack. I'm still packed from Christmas. It's fine. Later, when I checked, it wasn't there. I'm worried about this for a few reasons. I will post the video as soon as she watches and approves it. She's self-conscious. Expect it within a few days. I finally began moving some more of the photos from the cabin onto my laptop. I cannot bring myself to listen to those voice recordings yet. Oh yeah, he made voice recordings. And apparently when this first came out, which was like fucking 9 years ago, it had like little links in it where you could click and you could hear like the recordings that he made.
I don't want to hear that. I'm so good.
It's disgusting. All right. Since this is getting over long, flash forward to last night. I got up at about 1 a.m. to pee, and I knocked the bell scrunchie off the bed. Faye had taken it off and was gone. I got angry and scared at the same time. I found her sitting on the stairs, looking down into the dark, spreading her arms open like she was trying to get a child to climb up the staircase for its first time. She was smiling with her eyes closed. As I usually do, I gently got her up and walked her back to bed. When I laid down next to her, she leaned over and with her eyes still closed said, "They're gonna kill you," and then licked my face.
Wow. Divorce before the wedding even happens.
They're gonna kill you. How?
I'm sorry.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? They're gonna kill you.
No. No.
Get it off. Get it off. Demon spit.
don't-
Ew.
Honestly, I don't know what would upset me more, the words or the licking.
Oh, the licking for sure.
I don't care about the licking. Don't tell me there's someone in my house gonna murder me.
Oh no, I can deal. Like I'm fine with being scared. I'm a horror enthusiast. Like this is my life. I that's where I find joy. You know what I'm saying?
I'm already not gonna sleep for 3 days. It's so. I'm so scared.
Yeah. And I have more sound effects too. So anyway, moving right along. Licked my face. Oh, wait, what? I called her parents today to arrange a flight back to Colorado. They're paying for it. Her mom, Laura, admitted to me that something had happened to Faye as a child at the cabin. Laura's a bitch. Laura's a fucking bitch. Fuck Laura. She's awful. That is where her sleep disturbances started, when she was 5. I have had enough, and they can tell. They spoke with the ranger at Pikes Peak again, and he's arranging for me to meet with him and his buddies from their tribe who know the entire history of the area and all of the hauntings that other visitors have reported. Dog, the moment I touch down in Colorado, I'm driving to that house and I'm choking Laura's ass out. How the fuck are you gonna lie to me? Faye will be staying with my 2 best friends, R and J, and Jay's fiance. A. I've known all 3 of them since high school, and they are completely informed about all those events. They will guard her with their lives. In short, I'm going back to the cabin, alone. I'll update soon, but no matter what happens, I'm not going to drag this out any further on no sleep. I've polluted this place enough with my problems. Doug, let me tell you something right now. If Curtis called me and was like, I'm going back to the place where I think Stacy's soul got eaten, could you come babysit her for a bit? I'd be like, sure. Let me stop by Home Depot and buy a metric fuck ton of duct tape because I am taping her to the fucking bed. None of this getting up in the middle of the night, I'll never tell. Bullshit. Ain't no fucking way. Red rum. Get fucked. I'm taping you to the bed. Get used to it. If you want to stand up, I'll prop the mattress up for a few minutes and then put you back down. You are not leaving that fucking bed. I will use a football field's worth of duct tape. You are not leaving that bed. And I will sit in front of the door with a fucking shotgun waiting for you to fucking try me. I would never shoot you in the face,
pee
but
myself, you're cleaning it out.
Perfectly fine. I'm fine with demon pee. I'm not fine with demon meandering. You know what I'm saying? That I'm not good with. Inviting children up a stairs. Fuck that. Ain't no fucking way.
It's like all those voices they heard earlier. Is she inviting all of them?
Oh yeah. How many are there? Does 5 mean there's like 5 different entities inside of her? Because remember, they heard a woman, a man calling for help.
A child.
Like this.
That's just rude.
That's for Lexi's benefit. Just want to make sure she remembered. A child. So then man, woman, child. Her grandpa. Which it could just be, pretending to be. And then,
And his mom.
And his mom. So that's 5.
Don't let your girlfriend near your mom at any point. Because it sounds like it wants your mom.
Go slap the shit out of mom. 100%. The moment you touch down in Colorado. Go get a huge bag of weed and then slap the fuck out of mom.
I am so sorry, but why are we not burning this cabin down?
I don't know. Because it's not the cabin. It's the woods around the cabin. It's the area. You know what I'm saying?
Make sure no one goes near it. Burn the cabin down is the best option.
Okay.
Option number 1.
Yeah. Edit. Folks, I won't be going at the I won't be at the cabin alone. Jesus. I'm meeting the ranger and his friends there. His 2 friends are from his tribe. Nation? Sorry, I don't know the correct terminology. And they are healers. They all know about Pikes Peak and the ongoing situation. I'm not going out easy. You're going back. Okay. Update. Dropped Faye off at my friend's place. They'll take care of her. Heading to the airport now. No idea when I'll get back on. We'll try tonight if I'm not too tired after landing. Update 4:26, midnight, Colorado. I'm at Faye's parents, exhausted. Talked to her parents extensively. Got word from my friends. Faye started feeling really ill, wanted to go home. They've moved the whole posse over to our house, which has been sage, blessed, protected, covered in holy water and crucifixes. And it's like Fort Knox for demons. She's allegedly doing much better now. Richard and Jason's fiance Allison are all sleep. Why did you use the first letter of their names earlier, but now you're telling us their name? Whatever. Allison are all sleeping over a few nights to ensure Faye's all right. Heading to the cabin tomorrow to meet the ranger. Update, 4:26, 9:45 a.m., Colorado. Leaving in 1 hour to go to the cabin. Sorry for typos. I said it was the 27th by accident. Update, 4:26, 5:15 p.m. Spotty bullshit Wi-Fi, snowing like crazy up here. Met with the ranger, investigated the cabin. Nothing unusual inside except a lampshade removed from a lamp, which he claims was not like that when he came in here a few days ago. His friends will be here tomorrow morning. I am alone for tonight. I went outside for just a minute when it was still light to grab some things from the truck. I heard 2 voices. Making short videos with my phone. We'll try to upload. So much has gone down. I am so terrified and sleep deprived. I'm writing a huge post right now with everything that's happened. I will post it tomorrow because I know I can't finish it tonight. I'm going to fall asleep in my chair. Sorry to keep you waiting. End of part 6. Now we're into part 7. So,
What's the point of going with people if you're just gonna stay the night alone?
thank you. Like,
He even said I won't be alone. But
Why?
yeah, and here's another thing too. At the beginning of the story, I had hope because he was like, I'm not like all those other horror people. I'm special. I'm not an idiot like those other horror people. Like if a pick-me girl was in a horror movie. Like, what the fuck? I'm not like other horror movie people. I carry sage. Like, bitch! What do you mean? God, duh. Faye's parents aren't trustworthy. See if you can stay with the nation folk. Yes. Although,
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure. I think... And I have a very limited understanding of this culture, so please correct me if I am wrong. But from what I understand, if you are not part of the nation, you cannot stay on the reservation. Like, they won't let you. Like, even as a visitor, I don't think you can do that. But I could be wrong. I just distinctly remember hearing that. Anywho, Fallen, pay attention because I'm going to do on the specific people. Yeah, probably. Probably. All right, Fallen, pay attention. I'm going to give you a recap. If you don't like reading my other posts, just read this. Skip to below the links if you're up to speed. My fiancée, Faye, has had a sleep disorder since she was a little girl. Night terrors, sleepwalking, sleep talking, etc. This condition is generally under control, but is exacerbated by stress or trauma. A few days ago, we went on vacation and stayed in a cabin owned by her parents in Pikes Peak, Colorado. We found a creepy homemade dream catcher in the forest behind the cabin. And at night, we heard a voice or voices calling out from the woods, saying all kinds of terrifying things. Sometimes it would mimic people we knew, including deceased relatives. Faye's sleep disturbances got much worse, and while sleep talking one night, I overheard her answering strange questions about herself and I, not in me. When we returned to our home in California, her behavior became extremely erratic, and she's convinced that something has followed us back. No, I am convinced that something has followed us back. Because of her worsening condition, I had the house blessed and purged and flew back to Colorado to demand answers from Faye's parents and to revisit the cabin. The Pikes Ranger, who is Pueblo Indian, agreed to bring tribal elders to investigate the cabin and nearby forests. My 3 closest friends are taking care of Faye back home. It has been an interesting few days. I have so much to say, so I'm going to try to be terse. Sorry that it's taken so long to report. Sorry to wet my whistle.
Oh my goodness. My child keeps scaring me. I think that's behind my back.
Oh my god. Sorry that's taken so long to report. I really am trying. All of your questions and analysis of these events have really helped us through the struggle. Some of your observations are what brought me back here to Colorado. Oh, good. I landed in Denver International Airport 2 nights ago and stayed with Faye's parents in Arvada. Is that how you, Arvada? Whatever. While there, we all sat down and I basically forced them to tell me what was going on. A Redditor pointed out that Laura, Faye's mom, appeared to be lying/hiding something. You think? Another Redditor asked me if Faye had ever been to the cabin before, since her family owned it for almost 3 decades. I had never even thought of this. When I asked Faye, she said no, and that her parents just used it as a getaway a few times a year. Faye's mom told me that she'd been there multiple times when she was little. This time, Faye's parents told me a different story. They claimed this was the truth. Faye had been to the cabin as a toddler a few times, and when she was 5, something happened to her. While Greg, Faye's dad, and Faye were outside playing in the snow, Faye wandered off toward the edge of the forest to look in. She was following a voice. Greg was building a snowman and keeping his eye on her. They were only a few dozen yards apart. Wait a second. So when she was saying, "That's my house, those are my parents," she's reliving that. When she's whispering in her sleep, she's reliving that moment. She's talking to someone like she's a child.
Was she the child asking to go in?
Maybe. That's crazy. Allegedly, Greg heard Faye talking, answering questions, but he couldn't hear anyone else talking. He started walking toward her to bring her back, and he heard her say, "Faye. No, it's Faye. I can't see you." A moment later, little Faye began shrieking and crying. She went stiff as a board, and Greg had to pick her up and haul her back inside. She was almost catatonic and would go through bouts of total silence or inconsolable hysterics for several hours until Greg and Laura decided to go back down the mountain and take her to a hospital. Greg claims he never saw anyone in the woods and never heard any voices speaking to Faye. The doctors thought she had an epileptic seizure, and to this day, Faye does not remember ever going to the cabin. When I took her, she acted like she'd never seen it before. I believe that Faye did remember being traumatized as a child. I believe that if Faye did remember being traumatized as a child, she'd never want to go back. So I really think she's blocked out the whole experience, and when we visited it a week ago, she thought it was her first time going. In Laura and Greg's subsequent visits to the cabin without Faye, Greg experienced terrible nightmares in which dead people entered the bedroom and sat on the ground and bed watching him sleep. Why would you let her go back? Why the fuck would you let her go back? In the morning.
It's been a week. All of this has happened in a week?
Yeah, oh no, all of this has been happening over the course of like a couple weeks. But her getting like hurt as a kid, like if that happened to her, why would you fucking let her go back as an adult? Without being like, "Hey, do you remember this super fucking weird shit that happened to you? Don't go back there." In the morning, Greg let me borrow his truck, but refused to go to the cabin with me. I would duct tape him to the hood. We going. He told me when I left, "We let you kids go up there because we honestly wanted to believe there was nothing actually wrong with the place." Well, Greg, idiot. They used us to validate their denial, but I don't hold them responsible. How? I'd never have believed any of this if I were them. Dreams and a frightened child do not a haunting make. No, but it's a start. Seems to be the starter pack. I arrived in Pikes Peak around 1 p.m. yesterday, and the ranger met me at the cabin. We investigated the place and didn't find anything unusual, except that a single lampshade had been removed from one of the lamps and placed on the couch. We checked out the nearby woods. I was kind of surprised to discover that the creepy, enormous dream catcher was still there. The ranger told me he did not recognize it, and it was not something that his... Jesus. It was not something that his people made. He told me not to mess with it until his friends showed up. He told me he'd return with them in the morning and left. Oh, Lord. That night, some shit happened. Greg told me that he'd hidden a a 35 Magnum in the closet, so I retrieved it and had a really dope-ass purple bathrobe. And I felt a little better. Don't worry, I know how to shoot and how to keep it safe. What? Why would you not?
So he stayed in the cabin that night by himself.
Yeah. And why didn't Greg let them know there was a weapon in the home anyway? Why would you not? This family is making me very upset. Oh. Communication is key. Okay. Right around sunset, I walked out to Greg's truck to grab a few things I'd neglected to bring in earlier, and I heard two distinct voices chattering in the woods. It was snowing like crazy, and the wind was howling, but above the storm I heard a gruff, masculine voice and a younger, adolescent male voice. They were both yammering incomprehensible gibberish from two different places. I hurried back inside and locked the door. The stuff they were saying was pure madness. It made no sense. Put them up there in the trees. And, take and take, walk on down. There, go ahead. I just sat there imagining psychotic cannibals jabbering with their tongues hanging out and eyes rolled back in their skulls. I figured they'd come out of the woods as soon as it was dark. I tried to reach out to Faye back home, but my phone didn't get a reception in the cabin. The storm was too strong. I tried to play video games on the SNES, but I was distracted by all of the sounds outside. Every single noise the blizzard produced caught my ear, and so my imagination manifested all kinds of horrifying creatures slinking out there in the dark. When I finally went to bed, the wind died down a bit, and I heard a few more voices. There was a distant, high-pitched wail that echoed across the entire mountain. Jesus. Okay. There was a child crying, saying something like, "Put me down in the hole." And it's so deep you can crawl forever. But his voice sort of glitched. It would suddenly become deeper, as though a grown man were doing an impression of a little kid. I also heard someone hacking and vomiting and crying, begging for help. I didn't fall for any of it. Oh. Okay. So, you're in a cabin.
I am not in a cabin.
And you hear that shit. What, like, are you going to immediately be like, oh, this was a bad idea? Like,
Oh yeah.
you know what I'm saying? This is a poor idea. Do you just, like, leave at that? What do you do? Because you came all that way. So what's the move?
I'm not going out in the dark. I can't make it to the car. Mm-mm.
Yeah. By the way, for that part, but his voice suddenly glitched. It would become deeper, as though a grown man were doing an impression of a little kid. I also heard someone hacking and vomiting and crying, begging for help. I didn't fall for any of it. These are the sounds I imagined. It's like that really weird. It's like trying to sound like a human. You know what I mean?
It was like fake crying.
Yeah.
I'm scared. I don't like that.
It was like
I
someone
don't like that at all.
who doesn't remember how to sound like a human.
Let's do this.
I'm 28 years old, and this is the most afraid I've ever been in my entire life. Even with Faye walking around like a fleshy marionette. God. Ew. That's... Anyway. And calling out to a presence in the dark in my own home. Around the time I was getting into bed, approximately 12:45 a.m., there was a gentle tapping sound on the window in the living room. It was soft, like a neighbor who was reluctant to bother me. I stood there in the bedroom with the door open, holding my breath, trying to figure out if I'd imagined it. Then I heard it again. So I crept down the short hall and peeked around the corner, just in time to see a figure walking past the window and towards the front door. With the curtains drawn, I couldn't make out anything but a big shadow. Then it knocked on the door. It was a gentle knock. A man's voice called out softly.
Hate you.
Yes.
Heard the crap. No!
Hello?
Somebody was knocking on my door.
I just listened intently and tried to keep silent. Eventually, he knocked again and said, "Hello? I need to speak with you." He was speaking through clenched teeth. He was either extremely cold or extremely angry. Oh, so that's like, "Hello? I need to speak with you." Very carefully, I stepped back into the bedroom to grab my gun. But the goddamn place is so old the doors creak. I barely tapped the bedroom door as I passed, and it squealed like a dying pig. Then the man outside said, just above a whisper, "I know you're there." For just a moment, in my lethargy, I considered the possibility that this was one of the ranger's friends, or maybe someone else who lived on the mountain. I was never going to open the door, but stupidly, I figured talking to it couldn't hurt. Jesus. I say it because I immediately stopped believing there was a human being on the other side of the door the moment I opened my mouth. I said, "Who the fuck is it?" as assertively as I could. The second I stopped talking, whoever it was out there repeated my question while mimicking my voice accurately. It almost sounded like an echo. Then he said, "May I come in? Please?" His voice was a little shaky, but definitely sounded like me. Oh, good, you've just given him a fucking sample of your voice to now fuck with Faye. Brilliant. Unnervingly similar to me. But he was still clenching his teeth, so I could hear the difference. I pointed the gun at the door. It was dark in the house, so he couldn't see what I was doing through the curtain, and said, "If you don't get the fuck out of here right now, I'll blow you in half." For those of you who don't know, a 35 can do to a person, a slug to the chest essentially, makes you a human milkshake. And that's after passing through 2 inches of oak door. Why is he talking to it? We both just stood there for a dreadfully long minute. It started testing out my voice, groaning and whispering and muttering. It said a lot of things, but I only remember a few of them. "What's your name? What's your name? A little cabin for the weekend. For the weekend? For..." And then a bunch of lips smacking and chewing noises. They're lying. They're lying. The ones out here. La 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 la. Not singing, but just flailing his tongue around and making noises like a child would. "You're not alone in there, and I'm not alone out here. What's your name?" Oh, that fucking... Hold the fuck on. What is that line? What is that line? "You're not alone in there, and I'm not alone out here." That is, you're surrounded, bitch. That's what that says to me. Oh, you guys are all fucking cuddled up and shit.
I hate you so much. I hate
The knocking was the worst. It was the worst.
And then I heard something knocking over here in my house.
Yeah, that's why the knocking is so scary.
I'm like, just gonna cry. This is so scary.
You aren't alone
Scary
in
story, scary movie. Gotta be able to cover my eyes.
there. You aren't
can't
alone
see.
in there,
Yeah.
and I'm not alone out here. What's your name? You go up in the trees or down in the hole. That's where you go. Oh, they'll find you. Either way. The sound of my own voice making these horrific noises and phrases set every inch of my skin on fire. I can hardly describe the physical sensation of fright this intense. It was almost like having a bad fever, hot and cold and wet and sticky, all at the same time. I shouted for it to leave and said I was armed. I considered firing off a round, but that's a decision you can't take back. Okay. Okay? What do you mean? This is not a person. Can't take back. And my number one rule is to only fire when I'm certain I've got a target and a clear reason. You have a target. There is no clearer reason. I am proud to say that I can use my voice a lot better than whatever it was that mimicked me. I'm a soft-spoken guy, but I came down like a fucking hurricane screaming, "I will fucking kill you!" He replied simply in a softer tone of my own voice, "I will fucking kill you." Then it went back to babbling gibberish and knocking politely on the door over and over and over. Another minute or two, it suddenly stopped. The last thing it said was, "I know where she is." Then it kicked the door, and I mean harder than any human could possibly kick a door, and ran off. The boom was so loud I couldn't believe the door didn't implode in its frame. The person thing bounded down the wooden patio and off into the snow. And I swear on my life and honor, it sounded like a horse or some other huge four-legged animal charging off into the woods. A child's laughter rang out, and then everything was silent. Okay. How we feeling about that encounter?
I hate everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it knows what the words mean all the time.
No, it's basically it's Stacy's inconsolable. I just looked over at you. I just see this.
Breath-eaten French fries.
This is one of those I need to make Curtis check the shower curtain before I use the bathroom situations.
Yeah, yeah. And for the rest of the week, I am walking around my house with a 9mm on my hip. Fuck you. Don't fucking scare me.
I'm checking myself into a mental
those.
hospital,
Yeah.
so I'm not alone.
I'm back from it. That's why I'm lost. Basically, all you need to know is this.
Why?
I can do it again. No!
I hate you so much.
No.
So much.
It's the police.
Lacey's Nick. Nope.
Open
The headphones off.
Okay. All right. You're good. You're good. The sound's done. You're good.
I'm sweating and freezing.
I just
can't.
As soon as she puts her headphones back on, I just hit the button again. Yes, it is a mimic fallen. Well, honestly, we don't know what it is, but it's acting like a mimic. And this idiot is talking back to it. It's conversing with it, so they're all doomed. I'm sure of it. All right, let's continue. Needless to say, I remained in a cat-like state of delirious paranoia for the rest of the night. The storm picked back up, and I did not hear anything else. I spent the whole night debating whether the thing at the door was talking about Faye. I tried to convince myself that it was just yammering more nonsense, like all the voices I've heard up here. But the way it spoke that sentence haunts me, even now, as I write this. Its voice, my voice, was purposeful and restrained. It chose the words carefully, and it knew exactly what to say. I've been thinking a lot about what Redditors have been saying about Faye being some kind of doppelganger. When I first saw the nude woman on my car, she was nude on my
That's
car.
the first you mentioned that.
I thought it was a trick to lure me into the woods, where the voices lie. I thought the real Fae stopped me from leaving the cabin. But many of you have pointed out that the reverse could be entirely possible, given how the Fae I took home to California is behaving, given how she has failed all of my tests, and given how her engagement ring has been missing since we got home. So I sat there for hours, considering whether I should go out into the woods during broad daylight to search for my fiancé. Of course, it is a stupid idea, but now I understand why people in horror movies do idiotic things. If I'm not looking for her, or for answers, why am I here? 'Cause you're terminally fucking stupid. I need to know what I saw that day in the driveway. I need to know if there are many voices or just one, and I need to know how to get all this back to normal. I listened to music on my iPod and desperately tried to distract myself by reading news articles online until daybreak. Most of them wouldn't load because the gods of internet have cursed this cabin. Around 4 a.m., I got up to get some food from the kitchen, and I opened the window curtain a tiny bit to see if anything was going on outside. A ton of snow had fallen. At the rim of the forest, dozens of yards out, I could see a distant figure standing perfectly still in the moonlight. He was facing away, staring off into the darkness of the woods. I checked on him every 20 minutes since then. He never moved. When the sun rose around 6:15 a.m., he was gone. I never saw his face. Today, the ranger and his 2 buddies came to the cabin as promised. They were instantly likable and warm. One of them, T-Way, pronounced T-Way, is a medicine man in his 60s and was especially cool. The other was his son, Nathan, who was probably just a few years older than me. They told me all kinds of interesting lore about Pikes Peak and surrounding areas, then proceeded to tell me a disturbing story that they believe explains the strange activity on the mountain. For the sake of brevity, I will relay this in my next post. The ranger gave me one of his facility's satellite phones to stay in contact with him in case of emergencies. I used it to call Faye, but she didn't answer, so I called Jason and Richard, who are presently caring for her. Apparently, Faye had become inexplicably outraged after taking a shower. Holy water in the shampoo gets them every time. Threw an enormous tantrum and locked herself in our bedroom. She refused to eat for the rest of the night. Allison and Jason slept in the guest room, and Richard slept on our couch downstairs and worked late on his commissions. He's a digital artist. He told me that around 1 a.m., the same time I had my visitor, Faye ran downstairs into the kitchen, eyes closed, and started drinking out of the sink faucet. Then she turned around and stared, eyes still shut, at Richard while he sat at the breakfast table. She said, "Felix," to which he replied, "He's in Colorado, Faye, remember?" And then she said, "We sent him there to die." And then she sat down right there in the kitchen, on the kitchen tiles, and went back to sleep. I have instructed my friends only to wake Faye if she does anything serious, so they observed my rules and got her back into bed without much of an issue. For all the crazy shit Faye does when she's asleep, at least she never gets violent. The guys put her back into bed easily enough. The next day, Allison bailed on the whole project. She said she was awake all night listening to Faye whispering through the wall. Faye told Allison about how there was a man in the house, and he was asking about her. I'm out. I'm out. My flight home is the day after tomorrow, so I'm going to have to figure all this shit out real quick. I'm going to take a nap. It's nice and bright outside. No voices. Good night. P.S. As soon as I get home, I will put up the Faye video. I know I keep saying this, but I really did not expect to suddenly return to Colorado. I swear I will put it up, and then that will be the end of it. I resent myself for turning this into such a long and ridiculous blog of my experiences. End of part 7. We're going to roll right into part 8.
I just like how much of this there is.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
could possibly get worse?
I don't know, but I have a very distinct feeling we are about to find out the answer to that question.
Hopefully Allison's fine. She's the smartest one. I love her.
No, yeah, Allison's
You
like,
Allison.
I'm out, dog. Here's the fucking thing. That bitch was whispering through the fucking wall, and I heard her. Okay? These California apartments are old. The walls are made of cardboard because the landlords don't give a fuck about us. I could hear that bitch whispering, I'll never tell, through the wall all fucking night. I'm out. See, I'm like Allison. I'd be like, this was so dope. I'll see. Y'all have a good one. I'm gone. Okay.
Just don't invite me next time. We're good. Just don't invite me.
Right. Okay. Let us continue. We get to hear about lores and legends. Okay. My first night back at the cabin was the most terrifying experience of my life. You can read about it here if you haven't. The next morning, Wednesday, the ranger showed up with his friends. T-Way, a Pueblo medicine man, and his adult son Nathan. These people are amazing. They were instantly likable and sympathetic to my situation. I mentioned them in a tiny update in my last post. But here is what happened. Lore and legends. T-Way is an incredible storyteller. He told me that Pikes Peak and the surrounding area was inhabited by the Ute. Manitou, that's how you say that, right? Ute or Ute? Ute, Manitou, Arapaho, Pueblo, Anasazi, and other Native American groups at various times. In the 1860s, when the gold rush was in full swing, many Indians were violently displaced because of mining operations there. They were torn away from their sacred lands, which was catastrophic to their cultures. T-Way stressed that historically, Americans have not understood the significance of land and names to Native Americans, and this is critical to understanding the supernatural presence in the mountain. The major world religions like Christianity and Hinduism and Islam are universal. They can be practiced anywhere. You can pick up your whole life and move to Kentucky or Scotland and Istanbul, and you'll still be whatever religion you are. Your God still hears your prayers. He still intervenes in your life. Oh, that's so sad. Your God still hears your prayers. That just fucking gutted me. Especially when you think about, American history and what we did. Oh, that's awful. But Native Americans practice land-based religions. The land they inhabit is a part of their creation stories. It's not that the land belongs to them, it's that they belong to the land and are both in symbiotic relationship with one another. Oh, that's fucking awful. Not the concept, just knowing what our fucking ancestors did to them. Oh, okay. History is embedded in the landscape. A person is reminded of specific lessons and wisdom when they see a part of the land. The mouth of this river has a story attached to it. That fallen tree has a story attached to it. A battle was won here. A chief died there. Peace was made between tribes with a feast here. When a native group is forced out of its homeland, the people lose their history. What's worse, they leave behind the places where their dead are buried. Oh. Since the dead are bound to that place, the Indians who left no longer have spiritual connections to their ancestors and thus to their gods. Their medicines and magic no longer work. They forget the names of sacred places. As the names and history and wisdom are forgotten, the tribe's spiritual power evaporates. Fuck. Am I the only one gut punched by that? That's fucking terrible. I never realized that. Fuck, that's awful. Okay.
I think that's probably like the most informative way of saying why Native American lands are so important to Native Americans.
Or so sacred, yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
knew, but I didn't know.
No, why?
I didn't think about it that way at all.
I think
Yeah.
I thought they were just like, this is where I grew up, this is my home. Because we don't think about the
Yeah.
land that they do. The same way they.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about. Oh, God. Learn something new every day. T-Way said that when Pikes Peak was taken, a group of disgruntled Utes descended on the miners and slaughtered a bunch of them. Because a complex network of alliances and peace treaties, these Utes were punished by another tribe. They dug holes in the ground and slit the Utes' throats. When they buried them upside down in the hole, then they buried them upside down in the holes with their legs sticking out of the ground so that wolves would feast on their calves. Jesus fuck. That was supposed to be the end of it, but then something else happened. The legend says that these dead Utes arose from the tainted ground one night. Because their flesh had been flayed from the hips down, they looked like walking skeletons. They hobbled into the Arapaho camps and took women and children back up the mountain. They forced them deep into one of the mines, never to leave again. The howls of women and children have been reported on the mountain for over 100 years now. The Utes and Arapahos engaged in blood feuds, sometimes called mourning wars, for years after this. They exchanged curses, executed and skinned and tortured each other. They stained the once sacred earth on Pikes Peak with rivers of blood. I was pretty mortified by this story. I just kind of sat there with the ranger while T-Way and Nathan blessed the cabin. They burned sage and tobacco inside and outside and used crushed herb dust to cover their hands. They made a handprint on every window and drew small symbols in ash at the top of the front door inside and outside. They gave me bundled sage, cedar, hawthorn, and told me to burn it if anyone tried to get inside. It drives bad spirits insane. Then they provided me with small pouches filled with herbs and blessed objects to wear on my neck and in my pockets whenever I went outside. Nathan gave me a totem that he wears around his neck and told me to give it to Faye. Then they sang a really incredible chant in their language. It lasted about 15 minutes. I was blown away. I fucking love these guys. Then we went outside. I showed them the dream catcher, and they told me that they had never seen anything like it. The dream catcher is made with 3 branches woven together with hair and has old yarn or wool string with glass beads crisscrossing the center in the pattern. It is old and handmade. T-Way told me not to touch it or move it. If you find an object of power and do not know who made it or what it protects, you should leave it alone. I asked him if it could be evil, and he said, maybe. I got them up to speed on everything that has happened. I said that a lot of my friends, Redditors, but I didn't explain that, suspected that the Fae at my house in California was a duplicate, and the real Fae was somewhere in the woods. T-Way and Nathan agreed with each other on whether that could be, disagreed with each other on whether that could be, but we searched the woods looking for signs of my Fae. We found nothing. I told them about the missing ring, and he said exactly what many Redditors have said. If Fae loved the ring, and it was powerfully symbolic to her, it could be used by a bad spirit to harm her. They told me to find it at all costs. They also told me that if Fae indeed were still out here in the mountain, she was certainly dead. Okay. And the moment we've all been waiting for. T-Way named the creature that was tormenting us. He said his people called it At'an A'a no Tagakua, the imposter. Bad spirits inhabit the land. Bad spirits inhabit the land everywhere, and sometimes they get the opportunity to use a tragedy like the Pikes Peak massacre to commandeer a human figure and walk the earth partly mortal. In the case of the imposter, they collect animal and human parts piecemeal, wherever they can and stitch them together. This is why they walk strangely, vocalize strangely, and why they never show their face or come out during the day. They cannot pass for humans. That's why you never see the thing's face. Because it knows the jig would be up if he saw. And it's just like I thought, it's the words of the people that they've killed. Because they take parts of them with them. I asked T-Way why I always see someone facing away from me at the edge of the forest, and he said it's because it does not want me to know its identity. But eventually the imposter would come for me wearing face, skin, and teeth, and hair, and tried to convince me that it was her. When I asked him what it wanted, he said, nobody knows. He told me that there is power in names, as many Redditors have stated, and that I should not speak its name, especially not to it, because that could provoke it. Of the voices I was hearing in the forest every night, T-Way said they practice what they hear for decades. It makes it easier for them to hunt. Okay, you know. T-Way, Nathan... The freaky shit is what this is titled. T-Way, Nathan, and the ranger left at sunset, and I spent the rest of the evening thinking about all of this. And I think I figured a lot of things out. Around 9 p.m., something disturbing happened. I used the satellite phone the ranger gave me to call Faye. She actually answered and was just lying in bed reading. We had a great conversation. I told her I missed her so much and that I was up here trying to solve what was happening. I told her I wanted to have a family with her. She said that she was feeling better and had actually gone a whole night without sleepwalking or terrifying Jason and Richard, my buddies who are looking after her while I'm here in Colorado. After about 15 minutes of talking, I started hearing sounds outside. I heard footsteps crunching in the dry snow, and I heard a voice. My voice. It said things like, flight, insomnia, miss you. See you soon. The thing had been standing near the window, mimicking my conversation with Faye. I told Faye I'd call her back later and hung up the phone, then went silent. The thing walked around the cabin slowly, trying to figure out if I had moved. I kept mumbling and repeating a few phrases as it went. Finally, it came and knocked on the door. Its knock was gentle, just like last night. I won't do it, don't worry. I've done it enough. You get the gist. I was a little bit less scared because of all the blessings T-Way had put on the cabin. But I still held on to the gun just in case any shit went down. He spoke to me in my own voice, and the first thing he said was, the hole will fill with snow and blood. So yeah, that amped up my fear quite a bit. That's a very cheesy line. I'm sorry. Every hair on the back of my neck bristled. Do you know the feeling of being so scared that your vision turns hyper real? Everything looks like a realistic video game, so everything just looks just slightly off. Then it knocked again and said, hello? May I come in? I simply said, no, leave. Then it knocked for another 30 seconds or so and said, what is your name? Hello? I lied and said, my name is Daniel, now leave, you can't come in. The thing started knocking harder, a lot harder, non-stop, and said, what is your name? What is your name? It was terrifying to hear my voice coming from the other side of the door and to hear rage building in that voice. I said again, my name is Daniel. But the thing just kept yammering and asking the same question. It would occasionally say things like, ticket, rental car. You go up in the trees, the hole, down in the hole. What is your name? May I know your name? Then I had an idea. I'm really good with fake accents. I'm sorry, where is this going? Then I had an idea. I'm really good with fake accents. And when I was a child, my first language was German. Dad immigrated to Boston and met my mom. I started speaking in a thick accent, talking about my day, and then started shouting in German. Ja, that's good. I had a good sandwich today. How about you? Yeah, that's good. A freaky person. You have a good sandwich today? Yes? Cool. Fuck, that's so goofy. Sorry. And then started shouting in German. I recited a poem I know by Hermann Hesse, Die Frauen von Ravenna Tragen. My visitor went silent and stopped knocking.
Sorry.
What? You just jump scared me with your fucking laugh. Hello? What?
Die Frauen von Wagen tragen.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's what you said.
That's what
Sounded exactly the same to me.
Die Frauen von Ravenna Tragen.
Volkswagen and Fahrvergnügen. Got it.
Yeah.
Sauerkraut. Schnitzel.
Sorry, that made me laugh so hard. Okay, I'm good.
Well, I'm glad you're amused. My visitor went silent and stopped knocking. I could tell it was just listening. The visual of it being like, what the fuck is he saying? Is he yelling at me? Is he yelling at me in German? Why is he yelling at me in German? I don't know how to mimic that. What do you mean? Okay. Where the fuck? Where was I? Van Ragen Tragen. My visitor went silent and stopped knocking. I could tell it was just listening. So then I started shouting in a British accent, reciting lines from V for Vendetta. Remember the 5th of November. My favorite film of all time. I shouted, thank you, in every single language I know. I once committed to learning it in 100 languages and stopped at around 20. My unwanted guest just sort of stammered a little bit, trying to mimic me, but failed to do so. I was no longer speaking in any recognizable pattern or tone. Eventually, I just started growling the sounds Faye and I heard in the forest when we first stayed at the cabin. Wachu, wole mai, and started scratching and pounding on the door. I grabbed the sage bundle and torched it with my lighter, then waved it around the door frame. I don't know if the thing outside could smell it, but it walked off the porch all pissed off, growling, and went into the night. This time I ran to the window and tried to get a glimpse of it, but all I could see was a very dark, amorphous form disappearing into the trees. I think I figured a lot of stuff out. I think this entity is mimicking me because it's going to try to convince Faye that it is me. Yeah. What was your first fucking clue? It is rehearsing my voice and then whispering to Faye while she sleeps, talking to her in her dreams, trying to get her to let it inside our house. I think it wants to convince her that I am the imposter, not it. I also figured out why the voices go crazy at night and why they're getting closer to my home. These fuckers aren't trying to scare me. They're trying to deprive me of sleep. I'm psychologically and emotionally drained. I'm weaker. If I'm delirious, I'll make a mistake. Their, or his, attempts to get me will be easier. I'm still trying to figure out how controlling Faye like a puppet in her sleep plays into all of this. I know what I saw. There was a man standing outside our house, walking the exact same creepy way Faye was sleepwalking at the exact same time. I'm still considering the possibility that I already made a terrible mistake and that the imposter has already won. When I went outside on the first night at the cabin with Faye, trying to see where the voices were coming from, I left the door unlocked. You/and friend but said that was the moment that Faye was replaced by something else. I just don't know what to think, but for now, I'm going the fuck to sleep. Update. Well, I found the ring. Sad face. Sad face emoji. Okay.
Why sad? Why sad?
Because he found the ring. I don't
Or is
know.
it still on her finger?
Oh, he found it in the cabin when she isn't there?
We don't know. Update 5-2. I'm out of the cabin and safe. Do not go to Pikes Peak looking to be a hero, looking to find the mines, or looking for me. You will die. Avalanches, radon gas, mine collapses, etc. Do not be a fool. Edit. I took down the photo of Faye because someone started sending me creepy messages about it. Ugh. I should have known better. Someone gilded another one of my posts. Thanks very much, stranger. There are so many new developments, it's hard to figure out how to cram it all into a 3,000 no word sleep post. Or 3,000 word no sleep post. The morning after I spoke with my fiance Faye on the satellite phone, and then was visited by the thing that mimics our voices, I got a call from Richard and Jason. In case you don't remember, they're my two best friends that are standing on the plane. They're the only people I trust. Richard stays up very late and sleeps in the morning, kind of like what I'm doing now. He does this for 2 reasons. To work on his art commissions and to make sure Faye doesn't stab everyone to death and burn the house down in her sleep. The guys report that she's behaving quite normally and feeling good, being productive during the day. But then at night, she is unpredictable and weird. I feel like her soul is being cleaved in half. Damn. The 2 distinct sets of behavior are drifting further from each other every day. Around 1 p.m. that night, Richard heard the voice of a young child, mumbling incoherently. He is up to speed on the usual experiences that have plagued my fiancé and I, so he immediately got up to investigate. He looked out the kitchen window, which faces the same part of the forest where I saw the man, mimicking Faye's sleepwalking movements. Richard didn't find anything, so he walked a circle around the house and realized that the sound was coming from our bedroom window. He went inside and woke Jason up, and they stood outside the bedroom door listening. They claimed they heard the distinct sounds of a child whispering and softly singing, and I bet you can guess which song. Oh, sol mi adu, I'm a naked soul, mi adu. The song Faye and I heard outside of the cabin on our second night, sung in a child's voice. Both of these dudes are super ripped climbing enthusiasts, and they say they had never been so creeped out in their entire lives. Jason knocked on the door and said, "Faye, who's in there?" And he promptly heard the child go, "Shh," and whisper something inaudible. Richard pushed the door open and said that Faye was standing in the corner of the room, in the dark, facing the wall. She was standing up on her toes, dragging her hands and nails down the wall and talking to herself. With her back turned to the guys, she said, "Oh, their skin is so perfect. Which one? Which one? Put him down in the hole." Richard saw something out the window and hurried over to it. Jason stepped inside the room and reached out to put a hand on Faye's shoulder, but she whirled around quickly and covered her face with her hands. Her eyes were open, which was unusual for her when she sleepwalks. Then, and these are the exact words Jason used, she started speaking in the voice of a little kid. She made whining and crying sounds and rocked back and forth on her feet, cradling her arms as though she held a child. Then she turned around and started scratching at the wall again, still whispering in the kid's voice, saying things like, "It's Faye. I can't see you. Are you up in the trees or down in the hole?" Then she started singing again. She's definitely reenacting what happened to her as a kid. Richard ran down the stairs and out the front door, barreling toward the tree line. From the window, he had seen a small child walking around on its tippy toes, flailing its arms up in the air. On the phone, he told me he could hear it singing while he watched from the window. When Richard got about 20 yards away from the kid, it took off running on the balls of its feet, heading straight into the trees. Richard stayed in pursuit and went after it. It was too dark for him to follow, and he lost the kid after a few moments. He wandered around for a few minutes, searching the area, and eventually heard the voice of an adult male. Rich says he walked a few steps deeper into the grove and saw a huge man standing about 30 feet away, completely naked, looking up into the trees. There were lacerations or dark pockmarks of some sort all over his body. Now, Richard is 6'1" and 210 pounds and bulky/muscular. And he said this dude was way bigger than him. He said the man was perfectly still for several seconds, but then started rolling his head around, cracking his neck loudly, and started making gurgling and mumbling sounds. I guess Rich was paralyzed with fear because he claims he stood there for an entire minute or more running like hell back to the house. As he turned to get out of there, the man let out a long, "Hello? Hello?" And as he did, his voice transformed. It became my voice. Richard said that the thing in the woods called out with my voice several times as he fled, wailing, "Please help me. They're gonna kill me tonight." Jason says that he did not hear or see anything out the window, only Richard running back inside, ghost white with terror. He said Richard actually cried. While they talked in the living room, Faye sat at the top of the stairs, just watching, wide awake, with a little smile on her face. Okay. How we feeling?
I'm tossing Faye in the trash. I'm so sorry.
Throw her away. We don't need her. Throw her away. Throw the fiance away. We don't need her any fucking more. The next morning, they took her to her psychiatric appointment. The first she's ever had. And I will hopefully hear back on that soon. It kills me that I'm not there with her now. I'm still stuck at Pikes Peak. It's like this place doesn't want me to leave. The ranger station shut down the entire road network on the mountain because of the huge blizzard that rolled in. And there are avalanche warnings. My road out of here is completely iced over. And one part of it has a snow collapse mini avalanche. Shut up, I'm from California where God pays attention. What the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Wait, what? Where? What?
Rude.
Your God pays attention.
Let me refresh the stream because I don't see that.
I think he's just saying that where it's cold, God doesn't love us.
Yeah, I guess.
I feel like that's what he's saying.
I'm from California, so God loves me. Bitch, what? I would
Right now
keep my hood up, but look at what it does to my hair. Makes me look like I have a beard. A little bit.
I like it.
Anyway. I'm in contact with a ranger. His name is Greg, just like Faye's dad. So that's why I avoid referring to him by name in these updates. And he assures me they're working on getting the roads cleared every time it stops snowing. I missed my flight, but thankfully they gave me a voucher, so now I can just roll into the airport whenever I can. Excuse me. Whew. I have enough food to feed an army. And the electricity here is surprisingly reliable, so I'm warm. The Wi-Fi dips out for 5 to 10 hours at a time, though. I'm working on Donkey Kong Country 2 and Secret of Mana and the SNES, on the Secret SNES, and writing about my experiences here in my spare time. I also slipped on the icy porch steps and fell on my side. Mood. So I've got an enormous bruise and it hurts like a bitch, but only when I breathe, so I got that going for me. Okay. Reddit user asked me if the cabin had a basement, and I had never thought to check. How? I had never thought to check. Outside under the snowpack and halfway covered with old chopped wood, I found a little locked door. The key was in the kitchen cupboard, and it turns out there's a decent-sized cellar underneath the house. Down inside, I found a ton of creepy shit. There is a bundle of long black hair, several dozen jars of some rotten mutant-looking shit, and tons of old books from the 60s and 70s, and lots of porno magazines. Let's go. There are also lots of sticks and yarn, all of the material necessary to make a dream catcher like the one hanging on the tree line behind the cabin. I didn't touch anything, I just noped straight out of there. I've been thinking about something that Reddit user said to me the other day, which was, have you considered that it's not a dream catcher at all? And he's right. I'm not an expert on Native American symbology or artifacts. It just looks like a dream catcher to me, so I've been calling it one this whole time. T-Way, the Pueblo friend of the ranger, didn't call it that. He just said to leave it alone. I'm wondering if that thing attracts the imposter instead of keeping it away. It could mark the house. I kind of want to move it for one night just to see what happens. Oh yeah, no, fuck with shit you don't understand. What could go wrong? After all, T-Way blessed the entire cabin, so I feel quite safe. You're an idiot. And I have a .35 Magnum, just in case. In case leaves don't protect me. Okay. About 9:30 p.m., there was a knock on the door.
Jesus Christ.
Oh.
It says AM, by the way. 9:30 AM.
So mad at you.
I grabbed the gun.
So much.
I grabbed the gun, suspecting another encounter with the imposter. It was lightly snowing and gloomy, so I figured this... So I figured the sun was blocked enough that the creature would be willing to come out of the woods. But then I heard familiar voices, talking cheerfully. I looked out the window, and to my total surprise, it was T-Way and his son Nathan. These badass motherfuckers had hiked up from the ranger station in the snow to check on me. I let them in, and they made me tea. I cannot tell you how happy I was to see them. I would imagine so. I would these I just looked over.
I'm so tense.
T-Way was so good. T-Way brought me his own dream catcher. It was one he made specifically for me, and he told me I should hang it beside the creepy one. It's very colorful and ornate. I could tell he spent a lot of time on it. It's even got 2 beautiful hawk feathers dangling off of it. Oh, sorry. Oh, dangling off of it. Oh, excuse me. Which Nathan says represent freedom and unboundedness. He he reiterated the importance of finding the engagement ring Faye had lost and blessed the house again. I tried to get them to stay longer, but they had to get back down the mountain before the storm picked up and told me I should come down with them. We all knew I wouldn't, because you're a moron. If I left with them, I'd be leaving Greg's truck, and I'd never have found what I came back for. Who cares about Greg's truck? Fuck Greg. I said goodbye, and T-Way hugged me. I wish that guy was my grandpa. Oh. I took a nap after they left. I figured out how to sleep without being interrupted by the goddamn voices in the forest from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's pretty quiet outside, so I nap on and off. But something really bad happened this time. I woke up opening the bathroom window. I woke up opening the bathroom window. I never sleepwalked before in my entire life. Faye's been sleeping next to me for 5 years, and she says I don't move, I don't speak, I don't snore, I don't steal sheets. I'm the most polite bed buddy on earth. It couldn't be me. But when I came to, I was standing next to the toilet, both hands prying the frozen window open. Ow! It was about 2 inches up, and the freezing cold wind on my fingers woke me up. I slammed it shut and checked all the windows, ensuring that they were locked and sealed tight, and then went back to bed. I dragged one of the living room chairs into the bedroom with me and propped it against the door so that I'd knock it over if I got up again. Unfortunate. This did not work. Around 1 p.m., I woke up standing at the front door and found myself pulling it open. The loud groans it issued were what snapped me out of my stupor. I slammed the door shut and looked out the window next to it, praying nothing was there, waiting for me at the tree line. I saw nothing. Then I remembered that I'd had a dream. Images of a huge hole carved into mountain surfaces in my mind. Snow and branches were caked all around the mouth of the entrance, and an impossible yawning blackness emanated from within. In the dream, I just kind of stood there, gazing into the vacant space of the deep, listening to Faye's weakened cries. I sat down on the couch and just sort of cried for about a half hour. I thought about what our lives had become and how bad I missed her. I thought about all the dreams we have of our future, the things that I can never be if I don't figure out how to save her. I thought about all the promises I'll never keep if I die here. I decided it would be best to hang the dream catchers sooner rather than later because the clouds broke for a while and it was fantastically bright out. I got geared up and trudged across the snow with T-Way's gift and hung it on a branch about 3 feet away from the evil-looking one. And that's when I saw it. Faye's engagement ring. It was dangling right there in front of me, as if to tease me. Someone had woven it into the strings of the dream catcher. I stood there for a long time, right between two objects. I couldn't figure out if some benevolent force was giving me a break, or if I was being taunted by whatever beings have haunted my footsteps ever since I arrived on the mountain. Retrieving the ring would require me to not only touch, but destroy the creepy dream catcher. I had the thought to go ask No Sleep what I should do, but I feared that if I left even for 1 second, the ring would be gone when I got back. So I just tried to solve the riddle by myself. How I wish I'd brought the satellite phone out there with me. After a few minutes of standing there, I reasoned that T-Way's dream catcher would probably do just as well in protecting me, if in fact that was the function of the original one. I also figured that if it were cursed or something, touching it couldn't actually be worse than leaving the ring there and allowing Faye to be completely consumed by her madness. If the ring has anything to do with the creatures who are controlling Faye and I while we sleep, then getting it back is a priority over not touching weird stuff in the woods. So that's what I did. I broke the brittle thing apart and took my goddamn ring back. What else could I have done? And as if on cue, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. It was a person, standing in the snow beside a tree, about 20 feet from my left side. I was so scared I didn't look directly at him. I just watched him in my periphery and prayed that he hadn't noticed me. It was a man with black and gray hair and dark clothes, facing away from me. His head was tilted all the way back, and he was looking up at the tops of the trees. His limbs looked mangled and bent and elongated, even without looking right at him. I slid the ring into my pocket as slowly as I could, trying not to make a sound, and as I did, the man hobbled around and faced me. I really didn't want to look now. I just slammed my eyes shut. I knew he was looking at me. I could feel his gaze on me. He started gurgling and making throaty noises, then said in a voice so threatening I can't even begin to describe. Felix, I know you, Felix. I know you, Felix. I know you. Over and over. I took off running and screaming like a bat out of hell. I screamed all the way back to the fucking cabin. I barricaded the front door with the couch and burned up half the sage I had left. I even prayed, like an actual prayer. I haven't done that since I was 15 years old. I'm really struggling to write this last part. It has taken me hours to finish this entry because I keep getting up to distract myself. The ranger isn't answering his phone and nobody is at the station. Maybe the power is out. I don't know what I did by breaking that dream catcher. I don't know what tonight is going to be like. But Faye, if you ever read this and something happens to me, Don't forget, your tenderness, your softened skin, all I needed. Your love is my tourniquet. I have to say this even though I desperately want it to not be true. The man I just saw was T-Way. T-Way's dead.
I don't like it. How long has he been dead?
I don't know. Couldn't have been too long. Alright, run ads. Oh no, T-Way's dead. I mean, he has to be because it only mimics people it can only take the form of the things it's killed.
But it mimics him and he's not dead.
It mimics his voice, not his body.
Yeah.
Oh. What if the other dreamcatcher was a good dreamcatcher?
Yeah.
And this T-Way just made him destroy it.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting why the ring showed up in the middle, because, I mean, I guess the thing could tell that he was there for something and probably overheard them saying, like, you need to find this fucking ring. So he just put it in the dream catcher and was like, here you go, motherfucker. If you want it, you can have it. You're gonna have to break this to get it. So maybe that was like a ploy to get him to destroy the creepy dream catcher that's maybe good.
I'm so upset. I hate this.
It's almost over. This is the last part. Okay, so yeah, T-Way is dead. I'm going to skip the first couple paragraphs because it's just like conjecture and him answering theories from people. Because this is stupid long. But he does say, T-Way is dead. A lot of people have said otherwise, but I am certain of this. It cannot convincingly appear human, not without the help of the recently dead. T-Way confirmed this during his first visit to the cabin. But when I destroyed that dream catcher, there it was, proudly masquerading in the skin and hair of my best friend on this mountain. In the sunlight, no less. I cannot even begin to imagine how his son Nathan must feel, if he's even alive. The two hiked back to the ranger station from the cabin, knowing a blizzard was coming. I'm sure that's when T-Way died.
Your ads are done.
So T-Way died after leaving the cabin that day to check on him. Wonder how. Let me close all these other tabs.
I hope Nathan got out.
When I got back inside the cabin, I completely lost it. I barricaded the door and windows with every piece of furniture I could, but there just isn't enough stuff inside this little cabin to protect me. So I sat there on the floor against the bed, clutching the gun, sort of wishing my dark visitor would come and kill me already. But of course, this is Pike's Peak. Death is not the worst thing that can happen to you here. So the mountain kept he's fate-possessed. So the mountain kept fucking with me. It was getting dark, and I was on the verge of a total psychotic break. I've been running on 4 hours of sleep per night and a few naps for the past 2 weeks. Oh, 2 weeks. My only hope for redemption just got turned into a puppet, and I was about to find out what happens when nightfall. Come nightfall when the dream catcher no longer functions. So what did my brain decide was the best course of action at this point? To fall asleep. Oh, dog. He's cooked. He's cooked. He's fucking cooked. Full. I just went into a fear coma the minute the sun dipped behind the mountain. And then I woke up. I was in bed with the sheets pulled over me. The lights were off, all of them, and my hands were empty. When before they held Greg's .35 Magnum. When I opened my eyes, I suppose it was possible that I'd climb into bed myself. After all, I'd caught myself sleepwalking twice the day before, but it took me a solid minute before I realized there was a fucking arm wrapped around my chest. Oh, I did not have the reaction you'd expect. Most people would fly out of the bed screaming bloody murder, but the first thing I thought was, where am I? My parents divorced when I was 3, so as a kid, I'd spend a few nights a week at my dad's house and a few nights at my mom's. Sometimes I'd wake up in the dark and not be sure which bedroom I was in. It always took me a second to remember where I was. This is the thought that had crossed my delirious mind. Maybe I was back home in California? Maybe it was Faye's parents' house in Arvada? Jesus. I sort of rolled out from under the arm and tried to figure out who the hell was laying in bed with me. I've been sleeping with the lights on for the past few nights, and I've never in my right mind have turned them off after seeing the creature so close to me a few hours ago. The body in bed beside me felt familiar. Its warmth, its texture. I was pretty sure it was Faye, but I still couldn't remember if she was really with me up here. Then she spoke. She reached through the dark and touched my face and said, "What's wrong, Pop-Tart?" Yes, that's actually the nickname she gave me. Love me some s'mores Pop-Tarts. Okay, not necessary, but okay, good to know. I was really afraid, just overwhelmed with confusion. I wasn't really afraid, just overwhelmed with confusion. I asked her where we were and why the lights were off. She just squeezed my shoulder and said, "Honey, we're in Pikes Peak. There's a storm. The power is out. It's done this before. What's wrong with you?" You think, is this setting up for a hallucination, like this was all a dream or some shit?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
I got up out of bed. A feeling of dread was falling over me, heavier and heavier, the more awake I became. As soon as the sheets were off of me, I felt a blistering cold, colder than it's ever been in the cabin. The heat must have been off for hours. Only a bit of pale moonlight filtered in through the windows, and it was barely enough to outline the objects in the room. I stumbled around looking for the flashlight, totally unable to remember where it was, and said, "Why the fuck is it so cold? Did you screw with the heat?" Faye tried to get me to come back to bed. She told me it went off and came back on earlier, and that it would probably be back soon. Everything about her felt wrong, but her voice was perfectly clear. Her skin felt totally recognizable. I couldn't shake the strange feeling I had. I left the bedroom and walked out into the living room. It was even colder out there. I felt my way around with my hands and noticed a strong, icy draft coming from down the hall. It's a straight shot from the living room to the bathroom at the other end of the hall, and from where I stood I could see the bathroom window. It was wide open. A big 2x2 foot gap leading out to the snow. Don't like that. I went to shout, "What the fuck did you..." But Faye stepped out of the bedroom, and stood in the hallway between me and the bathroom. She said something like, "Felix, you aren't feeling well. Do you remember what's going on? You're sick." I almost believed her because I definitely felt dizzy and feverish, but it could also have been a mixture of disturbed confusion and freezing cold. The thought that this was not really Faye invaded my mind, and I immediately regretted not knowing where the gun was. The only words I could find were, "Who are you? And why are you here?" Faye just stood there in the darkness, in the darkness of the hallway. A little silver outline of her figure. Her face was entirely black, but even though her eyes were burning into me, just as T-Way's when I found the ring. I felt like we stood in the eye of a hurricane. Everything was totally calm, but I knew hell was about to sound outside. No branches snapped, no snow crunched, no voices moaned. It had stopped completely. "She asked. She still didn't move an inch. Not even her hair kicked up in the drafts that blew. I can't remember. Not in this. I didn't know how to respond to this. I didn't know what she was talking about. All I could say was, "Get out. You are not welcome here." Again, Faye didn't move. But she did clear her throat, and the sound she made was about 2 octaves deeper than the real Faye's voice. She inhaled sharply and said, "Tell me about the number 5. And that's when I knew. I remembered where I was, what day it was, and exactly what had happened up until this point. My visitor had finally come to call, and it no longer needed to be invited. Jesus. I deeply regretted breaking that dream catcher. My hand instinctively slid over my pocket, and to my relief, the little shape of Faye's engagement ring pushed back against my fingers. There was nothing else to do. I decided to throw down the gauntlet. I figured it was probably time to die anyway, so I might as well go out bravely. I just said, "I know who you are, and you will never be Faye." She took a menacing step towards me. A gurgle seeped out of her throat. She inhaled again, more slowly this time, and demanded, "I want to know about the number 5. Tell me, Felix." I looked all around me in the corners for a weapon, but found nothing. The knife block was on the other side of the short wall that divided the living room from the kitchen. There was only a roll of paper towels within reach, but in retrospect, I was so amped with terror that I probably could have beaten her ass to death with it. "I don't have any clue what that number means," I said. "In fact, about 5,000 people online don't know either. Nobody knows, only Faye knows." My visitor started shaking with rage. Her face was wreathed with impossible black. There was an endless abyss in it that stung my eyes. But then I realized something. This creature, whatever it is, has had access to Faye's mind for several hours every night, maybe for many years, maybe even since she first visited the cabin, when she was 5 years old. And in all that time, it still hadn't learned everything about her. It could never perfectly imitate her because she kept some things buried so deep in her subconscious that not even this thing could find them. Whatever the number 5 meant to Faye, that deep place is where she kept the secret. She didn't even go there in her dreams. The next part was a blur. I said something like, "You are the one who speaks to her in her sleep." The visitor kind of nodded. I said, "You ask her things, she answers you. I hear everything she says." The visitor didn't react. Then I said, "You've asked her this question, just like you're asking me now. And she always says, 'No, I can't tell you.'" My visitor took another step forward, dragging a hand along the wall as Faye had so many times in her sleepwalking fits. It raised up on the balls of its feet and twitched violently. It said to me, "I will make you tell me." It didn't try to mimic my fiance's voice anymore. It sucked in huge breaths, trying to control its rage. There's a certain feeling you get when you're about to die, when you're in danger, and you might die. Fear completely overwhelms your senses and compels you to flee, to fight, to save yourself somehow. But past that point, when you know you are going to die, that fear becomes useless and disappears. This has happened to me only once before, when I was sucked into a riptide at the beach during an El Niño winter as a teenager. In that moment, I just wondered, will my body ever come back to the shore? Will they ever know what happened to me? In this moment, my heart slowed down, and I didn't feel cold anymore. I just stood there, ready to be mauled to death. I was satisfied in the knowledge that I had not given this creature what it wanted, and therefore blocked it from using that knowledge as a weapon against Faye. Whatever 5 meant, this thing needed needed it to take full possession of my fiancé, and I wasn't going to let that happen. I laughed. I actually laughed and said, "Well, you're shit out of luck, buddy, because I don't know what the hell it means either. Maybe you can tell me when you figure it out." The imposter laughed right back in my voice, a perfect memory, then said, "Well, then we don't need you anymore." It lunged at me. I have dodged a rabid German shepherd like I was a ninja, but this was so fast and so strong it knocked the wind clean out of me. I toppled backward and crash landed on my shoulders on the tiles near the front door. It unleashed a barrage of blows on my face and neck. It raked my sweatshirt with razor-like claws. I tried my best to defend myself, but it was so dark in the house I couldn't see almost anything. I managed to flail my way free of its grasp for just a second. I pulled myself up to my feet by grabbing the counter, and in doing so, my hand brushed against the little bundle of sage I'd been burning. The imposter was on me like lightning, grabbing me by the back of the neck and pulling me with the strength of a 250-pound man. I very ingloriously whirled around and smashed the sage bundle into the creature's face, burnt end first, and wrapped my other arm around its head. Faye's familiar locks tangled in my fingers. I pulled its head forward and jammed the little sage into its eyes as hard as I could, screaming like a banshee. It screeched and growled in some inhuman language and tried to push me away, but I held on as hard as I could and kept driving my fingers into its eyes, crushing the twigs in them. A memory of Nathan and T-Way's chants surfaced in my mind, and I shouted the only part of it I could remember. "Tineke Adan, Tineke Adan, Tineke Adan." Who knows if I'm even remotely close to the correct spelling. My hand slid over its face and the mockery of Faye's appearance fell away. I couldn't see in the dark, but the face no longer resembled my fiancé. The mouth was much too big for a human's, and the wet lips draped across the maw of 100 fangs. And that was it. The bastard had had enough. It screamed and growled and took off on all fours. Its limbs elongated as it moved farther from me. Its shape became recognizingly inhuman, even in the pale light. It barreled up the bathroom wall and out the window, and in moments was completely gone. I definitely am not afraid to cry. I do it at funerals, weddings, during the Hunchback of Notre Dame, etc. But I'm a little embarrassed to admit how long and hard I cried after that creature left the cabin. I had never felt so utterly, miserably alone in my entire life. I only stopped when the power came back on, probably 20 minutes later. The heater kicked on instantly, and I ran over to shut and lock the bathroom window. My satellite phone was gone. The gun was gone. Probably outside in the snow or up in a tree. Or down inside the hole. Jesus. I peeked out the kitchen window and saw something lying on the porch, right near the front door. When I cracked the door open for just a second, I saw that it was T-Way's dream catcher. It had been destroyed and placed in front of the cabin, mocking me, or reminding me that I was unprotected. I checked the timer on the little battery clock in the kitchen. It read 12:15 a.m. I was going to have to spend another night in this godforsaken cabin, but I vowed to myself that at daybreak, no matter the conditions, I would take Greg's truck and get down the mountain or die trying. I didn't care if I slid off of the cliff face. I'd never watch the sun go down in Colorado ever again. For a while, I actually considered leaving right then, in the middle of the night. Many Redditors have reprimanded me for not doing this before, but I assure you, even in this situation, driving in the dark on the icy little road next to the 400-foot cliff is a complete nope situation. But the mountain had other plans for me. At one point, I risked sneaking outside to determine how deep the truck was buried. But as I approached, I saw that the snow had been dug out around the two front tires and they'd been slashed to ribbons. All I could do was let out a grim laugh and trudge back inside. At least it was warm in there now. Okay. Around 1 a.m., the voices started up. They arose from far off in the woods, several of them at once, groaning and screaming dark elegies into the night. It was all the same evil gibberish I'd heard 1,000 times before, but they slowly made their way into the open field and eventually to just outside the cabin. Are we okay? I lit the remaining pieces of sage and did a once-over on all the windows that weren't barricaded with furniture. I also donned the medicine pouches and amulet that T-Way and Nathan had given me, hoping they'd be similarly effective in protecting me. Then I remembered T-Way's useless dream catcher and imagined my crumpled corpse lying in the snow beside it. Outside the front door, I distinctly heard my own voice calling, "Faye, it's me, Alex. Let me in. Let me in." And from near the bathroom window, my voice again saying, "Hi, sweetie. I miss you so much." It repeated a few other things I've said on the phone in conversations with her, and even a few things I said to her while she was sleepwalking back at our home in California. There were footsteps on the roof, 2, maybe 3 pairs of little feet stomping all over the ceiling, voices of crying children paired with them. I stood there in the kitchen, clutching a knife and the herbs, waiting for the end. The voices circled the cabin as though a handful of deranged lunatics were slowly marching around the perimeter, singing the songs of hell as they went. They begged for help, they laughed maniacally, and they whispered and screamed and talked entirely to themselves, all at once. Their dim shadows passed the window curtains over and over. I heard glass breaking in the bedroom, and then in the bathroom. Then stomping on the roof grew louder, and the voice at the front door grew more urgent. Someone began knocking on the door, and the others tapped on the living room windows. They all started screaming, "Faye! Faye, let us in!" And, "Felix, are you there?" And then, as if heaven sent, a blinding white light illuminated the entire cabin from outside. All of the window curtains at the front of the house lit up, and the sound of motors drowned out the hellish cries. Someone had driven up to the cabin. I heard doors opening and men calling out, coherently. The footsteps on the roof thundered overhead to the back of the cabin, and then the screams of children drifted off into the woods out back, echoing as they withdrew. The ranger bashed on the front door, calling out my full name, instructing me to come outside. I looked out the window and saw 5 men, some in uniforms, and the ranger. There was a humongous off-road snowplow, 2 snowmobiles, and a big truck. They'd come to save my life. When I went outside, I just walked up and hugged the ranger. I didn't even grab my winter jacket. He informed me that they were getting everyone off the mountain because of a problem with the power grid. He said he feared I'd freeze to death. Whew. How we feeling?
Just finish it.
We're so close.
Okay.
Get off the fucking mountain.
The ride down the mountain would have been the happiest ride of my life, except for the view. We snaked across slippery white roads, and even with the truck's high beams on, I could see the brightest stars I'd ever witnessed. But beneath them, dangling in the trees, were dozens and dozens of human bodies. They swung by rope from their feet or necks. Some of them were flayed or missing parts. The ranger did not appear to notice, and I kept my mouth shut. As they passed overhead in our downward crawl, I could almost make out their frozen faces, lifeless for years, maybe decades. Their black blood stained the trunks of the trees. I'm not sure if these were the spirits T-Way talked about, or if I'd simply been experiencing temporary insanity. I'm not sure I'll ever know who they were, but I'm guessing that if the ranger showed up any later, I would have become one of them. I will never forget the haunting image of passing underneath them. We arrived at the ranger station and remained there overnight. I slept on a cot in a room of about 15 people, all locals from different places on the mountain. I asked the ranger if he'd heard from T-Way or Nathan, but he said he had not. The next morning, one of his men drove straight to Denver International Airport, and I boarded a plane without any luggage whatsoever. It didn't matter. I had the ring in my pocket, and I'll never need another jacket again as long as I live. When I finally got home, Faye let me have it. She kept kissing me and yelling at me. I understood. She was angry that I spent so much time trying to take control of the situation, treating her like a child, and disregarding her feelings in my crusade to rescue her. The fuck? You were possessed! She was upset that I had consigned her to the care of my best friends without asking, but seemed to appreciate their help. Richard and Jason were very happy to leave my house and never look Faye in the eye again. Although they did have some good news for me. Faye had not sleepwalked or sleep-talked or done anything out of the ordinary in over 24 hours. This corresponds almost exactly with when I retrieved the ring from the dream catcher. After an hour or so of reprimanding me for being a thick-headed idiot, Faye forgave me, and we laid in bed together and talked about everything. I certainly hope she forgave you. You fucking saved her. I apologized to her for the way I had treated her and put the ring on her finger. She relieved to have it back on. I swore I'd never screw up like that. He didn't screw up. We both slept a full night, no strange night terrors or bad dreams or sleep disturbances of any kind. And in the morning, yesterday morning, we had Faye's favorite, waffles. And in the morning, I'm making waffles. At about 11 a.m., I received a call. To my great relief, it was Nathan. Yay, Nathan's alive! I immediately pressed him for information about T-Way and what exactly had happened after they left the cabin that day. He ignored my questions and said very ominously, "Please let me speak to the one who followed you home." I said something like, what? To which he replied, "The one that calls itself Faye." My fiance and I had been sitting on the couch watching the most recent Game of Thrones, so I just sort of handed the phone to her and said, "It's for you." She put it to her ear and said, "Hello," and then listened for about a minute. I could hear Nathan speaking, but I could not make out what he was saying. Suddenly, a volcano of black puke exploded from Faye's mouth. Ugh. It absolutely covered the couch and carpet and sent me nearly jumping out of my skin in the process. Faye doubled over onto the floor like a rag doll, coughing and sputtering. I fell to my knees beside her, panicked, asking if she was all right. I picked up the phone and screamed at Nathan, demanding to know what he'd said to her. Nathan just said, "Felix, please listen," and then proceeded to recite some sort of chant or incantation. A wave of syrupy vomit rushed up my throat and out of my mouth, and as with Faye, it was oily black. I am actually an emetophobe, represent, so vomiting sends me to a state of near catatonia. But Faye had made a quick recovery and was right there to nurse me back to my senses. Nathan spoke to me a bit more and explained what he had done. I'll get to that in a bit. Faye and I spent the rest of the day feeling queasy and eventually went to urgent care across the road to get checked out. What are they going to do? Be like, "Yeah, your ghost levels are real high. Here's some fucking Advil." Like,
Alternate Advil.
yeah.
Acetaminophen.
Yeah.
Ibuprofen, whatever.
Nap. You'll be fine.
Advil and holy water.
Yeah. She should have some left over in her fucking shampoo. Just drink that. You'll be fine. But I know deep down it wasn't, okay. Faye and I spent the rest of the day feeling queasy and eventually went to urgent care across the road to get checked out. They gave us blood tests and checked our vitals and sent us home, telling us that we'd suffered minor food poisoning. But I know deep down it wasn't the damn waffles. Thankfully, for the past several hours, we've been feeling much better. I mentioned a while back that T-Way and Nathan had a disagreement over who the real Faye was and whether it was even possible for a duplicate of my fiancé to exist. When they hiked back down the mountain from the cabin a few days ago, they had to go up into the forest to avoid the snow collapses all over the road. Out there in the woods, they heard the crying of a woman and followed it to an abandoned mine. Both of them knew that it was very likely a trick, but T-Way said that it was their duty to explore the possibility that Faye was alive somewhere in the mountain. The blizzard came on earlier than expected. They stood at the mouth of the mine, listening to the begging of a young woman somewhere off in the dark, but concluded that its voice was too unusual to be a human's. Tiwei and Nathan decided to bless the entrance of the mine, which could ward off its dark inhabitants, but their chanting enraged whatever lived in it. It came out of the tunnels and snatched Tiwei. He screamed all the way down into the dark, and Nathan could not follow. He ran away, terrified, but got lost in the blizzard. He wandered for an hour, fearing death, and eventually came up on a skinned body swinging from a low tree branch. It was so fresh the blood hadn't yet fully frozen. Nathan knew it was his father's corpse. Eventually, he found his way back home. He said his father's voice guided him out of the squall. Nathan explained to me that the imposter's goal of taking over someone's mind was different from its penchant for killing people. These creatures hunt and kill at random, salvaging the human parts they need to walk the earth as mortals for a short time. But their real pleasure derives from conquering a person from within. Faye was one of the unlucky few that are chosen in this way, and the imposter's fixation on her had lasted for decades. Oh, Jesus. After long enough, their continued presence in the body and mind of a victim leaves a stain on the soul. This corruption necessitates a purge, hence the barf party we held in the living room, whose stains, by the way, I have thus failed to banish. Nathan invited me to the funeral ceremony for Tiwei. I sadly declined as I am already on the verge of losing my job and flat broke from this experience, but I promised that I'd honor his memory in my own way. I can't go back to that place. Fortunately, Nathan was more than understanding, and I promised we'd meet again soon. I'm still thinking about all of this. I do not yet have all the pieces of the puzzle. If you're looking for all the answers, you're going to have to help me find them. But I think I have part of this figured out. The imposter gave Faye's ring back to me. They wanted me to destroy the Dreamcatcher. I knew it! The ring was an object of great sentimental value, both to Faye and to our relationship. The creature used it to invade Faye's mind and control her thoughts. Its goal was to convince her that it was me, so that she would welcome it into our house late at night. The home, Nathan said, symbolically represents the body, just as the ring represents our union. To be welcomed into the home is to be granted access to Faye. But because the imposter could never learn anything it needed from Faye to mimic me, it gave up on that project and instead came after me. It returned the ring to me, thus giving up its power over Faye, but I broke the Dreamcatcher to retrieve it. As it turns out, that creepy, mysterious Dreamcatcher was, in fact, protecting the cabin and everyone inside it, which was why the imposter needed to be invited in. When I broke it, the creature could have easily come in and killed me, but it needed information from me before it did. It needed to know one of Faye's darkest secrets to rule her. I'm not sure I'll ever unravel the mystery of 5. But I do know one thing. Not knowing what it means actually saved Faye's life. I'm not sure I ever want to know. As for Faye, she's back to normal and in perfect health. She sleeps soundly and only mumbles a bit, which is pretty normal for her. Her sixth sense of humor has returned as well. Last night, as we went to sleep, she turned out the light and said to me, "Thank you for trying so hard." And then she leaned over and licked my face. Wow. Wow. So, what did we think? Hi, Nick and Night.
This was horrible, and let's not do it again.
Worst night of my life. Thanks so much for inviting me.
No scary stories? We're not.
This is terrible. I thought I was gonna cry or throw up.
But you made it. You did a good job. You made it. Yeah? Feel good about it? I'll go to my chatting screen so you can... Alright. Let's fucking raid out to someone, shall we? Jesus! I thought I muted those things. I guess not. Who did it? I must know.
Can I pet that dog?
Yeah, you pet that dog. He loves pets.
Well, so everybody was right. They said yes, but she's possessed.
Yeah. It was trying to possess her, at least. Seemed like it was being pretty fucking successful, if you ask me.
I'm not gonna lie, I still want to know what 5 is.
Same. There are other chapters on it. I'm not going to read them on stream because apparently this gentleman has made a book called Stolen Tongues. Yeah, Stolen Tongues. It's supposed to be a very good book. I actually plan on buying it and seeing it how it differs from, because this was like just an online blog, a silly haha thing that he did. I really would like to know what the story is like when he has like a professional editor helping him and he's not interacting with like, Redditors.
Absolutely not. Mm-mm. Don't want to see this or hear this or notice it in my mind again.
No? Okay. I'm glad.
So
Did you have fun?
Oh, no.
No?
Technically not.
Not at all?
No, she's gonna log off and go work on her aquarium for some peace.
Your
I'm
aquarium?
like shaking.
Are you really? Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm so dead.
It's okay. You be okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me on this fantastic Spoopy Wednesday. I had a lot of fun reading this. I had a lot of fun finding all the sounds and everything, too. It was really cool for me. It was very fulfilling. A fulfilling feeling. But we will be back Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for some community chaos. And I think Lexi is going to be able to pick all of the games for putting up with this. I think that would be fair. So it might be just like 6 hours of code names. Who knows?
So much code names.
Yes, so many code names. All right. I love y'all. Thank you so much for enjoying this journey with me. Everyone but Lexi. I love your faces so much. I will see you at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard on Friday. Be good. Now remember, if you can't, be good at it. I said that wrong. You know what I mean. Love you. Bye.